schemes. During floods, all those windowless lower rooms in Lavouchiac's riverside homes fill with water, thus safeguarding the building's structural integrity against the force of the currents. The village has thrived for centuries despite the crue, but the nationwide French exodus to the cities in the 1960s thinned the population more permanently than floods ever had. Even the boulangerie is only open 2 days a week now. Here in the landlocked département of Haute-Loire, the climate crisis is colliding with known hazards to complicate and greatly exacerbate existing problems. Carbon-burning human activity is affecting geography, as opposed to the other way round. Projections indicate an increase in the number of intense rainfall events, posing a more severe flood risk to Lavouchiac. Rapidly rising summer temperatures and more frequent heat waves also threaten the overall equilibrium of the Allier watershed. Villagers hope the Pebble Virgin has one more miracle left in her. Lavouchiac is unusual, but so is everywhere in its own unique way. A different set of climate-related issues will at some stage pop up not just around lovely loops in a river, but in every village, every city, every country. We are all prisoners of geography now.
Sarah Wheeler there. And that's all for this edition. I'm Pascal Harter. The producer was Polly Hope, and we'll be back again next weekend. So do join us again here on the BBC World Service.
That was the BBC programme from our own correspondent.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk, sitting in this morning for Marcy Marcusa. Hope you had a lovely weekend. It was a bit of a tricky weekend weather-wise. You look at the weather and you kind of look down and you see, warmer temperatures. When you step outside and the wind goes smack, get back in there. It was a bit of a surprisingly chilly one, but looks like the forecast ahead for this week is going to be nicer. I'm going to get right to that after we say hello to the crew this morning. Mia McKillop is our technician this morning, and as well, Sierra Sanders is our studio director. She's keeping an eye on the commute, and Darren Morash is our YouTube producer this morning. Also, hello to Heather Wells, who is keeping an eye on news headlines. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Well, Winnipeg man is dreading going through the process of disputing his property assessment again. The city has assessed Jeremy Dias's home at a value of nearly $600,000. That's up from $400,000 at the last assessment. He says having to renegotiate with the city and go to the Board of Revision in past years left him exhausted. He wonders how they came up with that number. We're going to hear from him coming up. And today is Groundhog Day, and rodent forecasters across the country are going to be checking for their shadows. Manitoba Merv at Oak Hammock Marsh makes his prediction just after 8 o'clock this morning. Last year, he predicted an early spring. Was he accurate? We'll hear more coming up in our next local news at 6:30.
Do we ever truly have an early spring here in Manitoba, though?
There's a good question. I think we have.
Really?
I don't know what early would be, but
Yeah.
I think it's been spring, like early April, I think we've had, maybe even late March.
That's true. That's true. It started to feel warmer then. Yeah, it just always feels like it just drags on every year.
It really does.
Yeah, well, looking forward to that. Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News Desk. Minus 19 right now here in Winnipeg. It's only going to warm up to minus 17, but in the forecast ahead for the rest of the week, it looks like it's going to get warmer and warmer. I'll have more details for you in a bit. But just ahead, this next hour on Information Radio is the United States moving toward a potential strike on Iran. We're going to get the latest news developments from a Washington-based journalist. Also, we're going to hear about someone who found a home in a Winnipeg Filipino band despite not speaking a lick of Tagalog. That's coming up after World Report.
Today on Q.
I'm Talia Schlanger in for Tom Power. Remembering Catherine O'Hara. We'll revisit some of our favorite moments with the Canadian comedy legend, where she talked about some of her most famous roles in Beetlejuice, Home Alone, and Schitt's Creek, plus how growing up in a really big family shaped her sense of humor.
When we did SCTV, that was just made my dad so happy, because he was a jokester.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report.
Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Canada's defense minister says the decision to buy more F-35 fighter jets is still under review, but the 16 being built for the Royal Canadian Air Force will be delivered later this year. David Common takes us on an exclusive visit to the U.S. Air Base, where Canadian pilots will soon learn how to fly the F-35.
Arizona's Luke Air Force Base is a vast facility filled with fighter jets and pilots from the U.S., Europe, Japan, and Singapore, all here to train on the latest technology. By this summer, that will include Canadian Air Force pilots.
We're super excited.
American Brigadier General David Birkeland runs the base.
To bring them in and welcome them onto the team and into the family here.
For the international pilots here now, training alongside Americans in the midst of the Greenland threats and political eruptions between Europe and the U.S., it can all be challenging.
Interesting times, let's call it that.
Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Loisterberg is an instructor pilot for the Dutch Air Force. He says they can't let politics distract them here. And he adds, in spite of it all, he's glad the Netherlands chose the F-35.
I want to do the best I can. I want to win the war. I want to go home to my family afterwards. I mean, I think the F-35 is a way better platform than the Gripen.
That Gripen jet, built by Sweden, is the alternative for Ottawa, a capable but less sophisticated warplane. Canada could buy them and run a mixed fleet of fighter jets, or go all in on the F-35. The choice, either way, is politically charged. David Common, CBC News at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona.
Russia is confirming the next round of trilateral talks with U.S. and Ukraine will resume this week. They're aimed at ending the war in Ukraine. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov says they will happen on Wednesday and Thursday. A second round of negotiations had been planned for this past weekend in United Arab Emirates. Peskov says they were postponed over scheduling matters. This week's meeting in Abu Dhabi will be only the second time Russia, Ukrainian, and American delegates have met together. Some police officers in Ontario say they're being unfairly penalized by traffic technology. Red light cameras are used to reduce collisions at intersections, but they can't tell who's at the wheel. And that is a problem for officers who are responding to emergencies. Jason Viu has the latest.
My job is to go out there and save lives. I use my discretion.
Sergeant Kent Rice is the union president for Windsor Police. He says some of the nearly 500 officers he represents feel they're being unfairly penalized by red light cameras. If the technology detects an officer running a red light while on duty, even with lights and sirens on, he says it leads to automatic discipline. 6 hours of docked pay the first time and 12 hours if it happens again.
I understand the balancing the line between public safety, but I also believe that this was never the intent of the system.
Provincial legislation has allowed red light cameras since 1998. The Ministry of the Solicitor General wouldn't comment on how they're being used to discipline officers, only to say it's up to each organization. In London, Ontario, Police Union President Gareth Harris says it's a problem there too. Recently, he says one officer was docked pay after rushing to help save a baby not breathing, making a right turn on a red, no traffic around, and not fully stopping.
I think most people would say that should be a justifiable offense.
Not all police agencies in Ontario operate this way. The Toronto Police Service says it reviews every red light infraction case by case to determine if an exemption is warranted. If not, the officer will be docked pay. That's what both police unions in Windsor and London want, for each instance to be examined before penalizing officers. London Police says it does review cases to see if the officer was justified, but didn't say how often those exemptions are made. Windsor Police did not respond to our request for a comment. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
New research suggests that more young Canadians are being diagnosed with psychotic disorders, and they're being diagnosed at a younger age. New research out today looked at more than 12 million people in Ontario. And as the CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reports, researchers believe cannabis could be playing a role.
I would start hearing what I thought was people talking to me through the vents.
In his early 20s, Sean Heron says he started hearing voices telling him to hurt himself. After getting help, he was eventually diagnosed with schizophrenia.
I was happy that I was getting help for it.
According to new research in the Canadian Medical Association Journal, heroin is part of a growing number of young people diagnosed with a psychotic disorder.
Rates of psychotic disorders have been going up.
Dr. Daniel Myron is the lead author of the new study. It looked at more than 12 million people in Ontario, born between 1960 and 2009. Findings showed higher rates of psychotic disorders among 14 to 20-year-olds compared with older people. The research doesn't look at what's driving this, but it speculates.
We've done some previous research showing that episodes of cannabis-induced psychosis.
This is a crisis.
Dr. Sarah Brandy Gumpala is a psychiatrist in Ottawa. She works at an early psychosis intervention program. She says they've been overwhelmed with requests for help.
In males, we're seeing a younger age of onset and a stronger correlation to cannabis use.
Experts say catching symptoms early helps. And to reverse this trend, they want more education on the possible harms of cannabis use in teens. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Toronto.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the Kennedy Center will be closing for 2 years. Trump recently added his name to the building. In the last few weeks, several artists have since canceled performances at the venue. Trump says the center will be under construction. The CBC's Aaron Collins is joining us from Washington. Aaron, what do we know?
Well, we know the president is unhappy with the Performing Arts Center that now partially bears his name, calling the venue tired, broken, and dilapidated in a social media post on Sunday, insisting that it needs a refresh. So Donald Trump writing that the center has been in bad condition both financially and structurally for many years, and that he wants to turn it into a world-class bastion of arts, music, and entertainment. Now, Trump says the decision to renovate was made after consulting a collection of musical experts, art institutions, and advisors. The president saying he was told the best way to revamp the center would be to shutter it for up to 2 years, beginning on July 4th this summer. And Donald Trump does say that to move forward with the renovations to the center, he'll need the approval from the center's board, which of course he now chairs.
What are we hearing in terms of reaction?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's being met with skepticism, to say the least. Of course, Donald Trump just added his name to the former Kennedy Center in December, and that rebrand was panned by many, including a number of longtime performers who canceled shows at the center. And on top of that, Democrats in Congress have challenged Trump's ability to change the name to the center, which was originally named to honor President John F. Kennedy after he was assassinated. Some Democrats, like Representative Shelley Pingree of Maine, say the closure is more about covering up the damage Trump has done to the facility.
He has run it into the ground financially. He's made it a place where performers don't want to perform and individuals don't want to attend performances.
Pingree says she hopes to stop the shuttering of the center, saying she'll look into whether Trump needs congressional approval to move forward with the planned renos.
All right, thanks so much, Aaron.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Aaron Collins in Washington. Bad Bunny was a big winner at the Grammy Awards.
I want to dedicate this award to all the people that had to leave their homeland, their country, to follow their dreams.
The 31-year-old Puerto Rican is the first Latin artist to win Album of the Year. He gave most of his speech in Spanish and spoke out against U.S. immigration policies. Other big winners included Olivia Dean, who won Best New Artist, and Kendrick Lamar, who took home 5 awards, including Record of the Year. Canadian Justin Gray took home the award for Best Immersive Audio Album.
To Toronto, to Canada, we love you. Wow. Music is a gift that we all share, and can we maintain and just continue to uplift each other through this beautiful art form. Thank you.
Gray teaches audio production at Toronto's Humber Polytechnic. He is the first Canadian ever to win in this category. This is his song Illuminate from his now award-winning album Immersed. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk, sitting in this morning for Marcy Marcusa. Right now, it is minus 19 in Winnipeg. It will get warmer, though, throughout the week. I promise you that. And looks like hopefully at least for now, the worst of winter is over. And actually, it is Groundhog Day as well. So we're going to find out from Manitoba Merv later in the show about whether we're in for another 6 weeks of winter or not. But this hour of the show, Pierre Poilievre has survived the Conservative Party's leadership review, but can he overcome Mark Carney's popularity in the polls? That's coming up at 6:50. Also, later on Information Radio, this half hour, the latest in our series of stories by the student filmmakers of Sisler Create. They're talking about a Winnipeg musician that found a home in a Filipino band, just not speaking Tagalog. Also, just ahead, we're going to talk about the tensions in Iran that have grown between the U.S. and Iran over the weekend. We're going to talk about that with a U.S.-based journalist coming up shortly here. But first, at 6:11, let's check in with news headlines with Heather Wells.
Good morning. Well, the daughter of a woman who died after an 11-hour wait in a Winnipeg emergency room last month wants answers. Stacey Ross died January 16th after waiting to be admitted to a room at St. Boniface Hospital. Morgan Ross says her mom had sought medical help several times. After experiencing coughing and chest pain, she eventually was diagnosed with pneumonia and was septic. We're going to hear more about what happened coming up. And a new CBC investigation shows placing bets on some unlicensed online sports betting sites in Manitoba is easy to do. There is just one legal site here, Play Now, but we were able to place bets on several other sites not allowed to operate here. We'll hear more about our investigation in our next local news at 6:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That's CBC's Heather Wells. Taking a look at your forecast right now, we are sitting in Winnipeg. Actually, now it's dropped to minus 20, but it will only be warming up today to minus 17. It will be sunny. You can expect winds up to 15 kilometers an hour or so. In Dauphin, it's minus 25 right now. It's actually going to warm up to minus 14 in Dauphin today. Also winds 15 kilometers an hour. Brandon, right now, you're sitting at minus 18, and you're warming up to minus 14 today. You can expect some periods of light snow as well throughout the day, and that actually might carry on into the evening. And then Thompson this morning, good morning to you, minus 30 in Thompson. You're warming up to minus 16. It's going to be mainly sunny. Also, not too heavy of winds for you today, about 15 kilometer an hour winds. That's your forecast. We're going to have more of your regional forecast in depth after 6:30. But right now, let's say hello to the crew. May McKillop is behind the glass. She is our studio technician. We also have Darren Morash, our YouTube producer. And hello to everyone watching on YouTube this morning as well. And we also have Sierra Sanders in with us, who's our studio director. And she is keeping an eye on the commute. Good morning.
Good morning, Corey. I'm not hearing about anything too major getting in the way of your commute right now or any major backups happening, but I did take a quick look on Manitoba 511, and they're reporting highways west of Winnipeg, some is partly covered and some even with reduced visibility. And that's just a reminder to check Manitoba 511 before you head out on the highways for up-to-date conditions and any other situations happening out there. But as I said, not too much going on out there on the commute right now on this Monday morning, the first Monday of February. But if anything pops up and there's something getting in your way or causing you some backups, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number is 204-788-3093.
Well, the signs are ominous in the standoff between the United States and Iran. U.S. President Donald Trump has deployed his so-called, quote, armada near Iran's waters, led by the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. Trump has said he wants the end of Iran's nuclear program and that its rulers stop killing Iranian protesters. Iran says it is open to diplomacy, but ready for war. For the latest, we're joined by Paul Waldman. He's a columnist for MS Now. Good morning.
Morning.
So catch us up a little bit. Tell us about what developed over the weekend.
Well, what we had is basically a bunch of chest thumping. The Iranian Supreme Leader said that if the United States attacks, that it would spark a regional war. Trump was asked about this, and he said, we'll see if it does, which sort of implies that he is going to attack, but that's not exactly clear. And it's the kind of thing he often says. Trump likes to issue threats, and then when he's asked for explanation, get kind of vague. The phrase he always uses is, we'll see what happens. But this does kind of have the appearance of an attack in search of a justification. You can kind of step back and say, what are we really doing here? Well, why is it that all of a sudden the United States is contemplating bombing Iran? This started with the protests that broke out not long ago, which were resulted in a brutal crackdown. And at first, Trump said, if this doesn't stop, then basically that he's going to attack Iran. But then he kind of pulled back from that. He said that it was because of his pressure that the regime stopped executing people. But we don't really know if that's true. The reports of how many people have been killed in the protests range anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 all the way up to 25,000. So it's not as though the regime is acting with any kind of a restraint. And now Trump has sort of put the question of the protests to the side. And now he's talking about the Iran nuclear program, which is an old story. So it's reasonable to kind of be puzzled at what's actually going on. But the question is, does this have its own momentum that's going to end up resulting in some kind of a military confrontation?
Yeah, and in terms of that momentum that has been building in terms of just military might, what do we know so far about the U.S. military buildup in the Gulf and what it's been doing there, around the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, well, they sent a carrier group to the Indian Ocean, so that's, a big aircraft carrier and all the support ships around it, and that can launch fighter jets from there. And the U.S. already has a lot of military assets in the region, bases in places like Saudi Arabia and Qatar, so it's never a problem for the U.S. to launch an attack on Iran if it wants to on relatively short notice. But, doing something like sending a carrier group, there's only about a dozen of those in there. It's a big, visible, dramatic thing to do. So that's what Trump is trying to accomplish here, I think, is just to sort of make a big show that he's threatening them and see what that produces.
And just, now that we've kind of gotten to this escalation point, Trump does have demands for Iran that could potentially de-escalate it. What are those demands that he has for Iranian leaders?
Yeah, so right now it's in three areas. The first is that Iran should shut down its nuclear program, that they should stop rebuilding their missile stockpiles, which they've been doing since the U.S. and Israel attacked in June, and finally that they should stop supporting their proxies in the region like Hezbollah and the Houthis. And these are kind of long-standing demands that the U.S. and other countries have had. There's nothing new there. In terms of the nuclear program, let's not forget, we had a nuclear deal that was painstakingly negotiated over the course of about a year. It was signed in 2015. And then when Trump took office the first time, he walked away from it and it collapsed, mostly because it had Barack Obama's name on it. And so now, we're back to the point where we're demanding again that they shut down the program. So those are the demands. But, you'll notice that has nothing to do with the protests, and it doesn't seem on its face to be aimed at regime change. So I think that in terms of what Trump actually wants, he likes the big dramatic thing, often the violent thing at the beginning, but then he doesn't want to be involved in any of the cleanup. We saw that in Venezuela. They kidnapped Nicolas Maduro, but then they left the regime in place. Because what Trump doesn't want is something like, the Iraq War, where the U.S. had to spend years managing this mess that it had made. So I don't think he's going to do anything that gives him responsibility for what happens in Iran in the next phase of its history.
In the last 30 seconds here, I know we've only got a little bit of time left with you, but what has Iran said it will do in the event of a U.S. attack?
So it says saying what it usually says, which is that it will widen the conflict, that it'll be spark a regional war. And, that usually means maybe lobbing some missiles at Israel and maybe encouraging its proxies to engage in some kind of attacks. against U.S. assets. Their military bases all over, so it can throw missiles at some of the U.S. military bases. But a lot of that is pretty symbolic. It's not really a major military threat. So the Iran government they are definitely operating from a position of weakness right now. And they're really just trying to hold on and survive.
Well, Paul, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Paul Waldman is a columnist for MS Now.
Local news is in decline across Canada, and this is bad news for all of us. With less local news, noise, rumors, and misinformation fill the void, and it gets harder to separate truth from fiction. That's why CBC News is putting more journalists in more places across Canada, reporting on the ground from where you live, telling the stories that matter to all of us. Because local news is big news. Choose news, not noise. CBC News.
6:20 right now here. You're listening to Information Radio. I'm Corey Funk, sitting in this morning for Marcy Marcusa. Well, next up on the show, the latest in our special series of stories produced by filmmaking students in the Create program at Sisler High School in collaboration with CBC Manitoba. This week, we're going to meet a heavy metal guitarist who stopped playing music after the death of a bandmate, only to find a new musical home in a local Filipino group, despite the fact he doesn't speak, let alone sing, in Tagalog. Here's their story.
So the Tagalog songs that we play, I don't know any of the lyrics. I've tried learning some of them to see what they mean and all that, but the guys in the band, they help me out. They let me know what the song is about. The first band I played in was a heavy metal band called Lunacy. I was 23. I played guitar in it. Released a demo CD in 2000. Played some clubs around Winnipeg. And then things ended up falling apart. And lead singer and main guitar player, I passed away in 2012. That kind of made me stop playing for a while. Then I started playing again probably 2017. And that's when I first met Kent, actually, when he started working the same business I was at. And then he came over to my place and we started jamming. Then Kent asked me to join LAPAP and gave it a shot.
LAPAP, it means like heaven, sometimes when you're playing you feel like heaven.
It was nice playing something different than the guitar, and so I played the bass and different style of music as well too, so that kind of helped me get back into playing again.
Nikwento ko muna sa kanya yung istorya ng Tagalog music so that he have an idea what the story is.
I was actually quite surprised how much stamina there is to play on some of these songs. I thought it would be a little easier because I was used to playing at faster speed, and it really opened my eyes up to it doesn't have to be heavy metal to be playing something fast. I don't feel any different. Music is something that everybody knows, and doesn't matter what language you speak, you all get it by the beat of the music, and it just clicks. Like
everybody's happy that there's a white guy playing in a band, because in music, actually, we are all the same. As long as you know how to play, you're all welcome.
I'm happy playing in LAPAP. I could see us playing more shows and more. It's a good time.
Thank you for that story from Sisler Curate students Wida Marley, Chantel Rodriguez, Neva Davies, and Caleb Saladago. For more on this story, just go to our website, cbc.ca/Manitoba. We're going to keep this music train going a little bit as we head into your news. The long-awaited debut album from Saskatchewan soul singer Katie Tupper is here. Greyhound's standout track, Disappear, features Tupper's soulful voice singing about a relationship that she says she felt progressing a little too fast. Have a listen. This is Katie Tupper with Disappear.
Can I be honest? I wake up nauseous, thinking of all the things I can't give to you. Can I be candid? It's not how I planned it, but you have a habit of jumping guns. You like running blind, pulling me behind you. I compromise every time that I'm asked to. I can't be the answer, I can't be the end. I can't be your woman, I can't even be your friend. I can't make it easy, oh, but I can make it clear. The more you try to love me, the more I disappear, disappear. Can I be angry? Your friends think I'm crazy. If only they knew the truth, would they choose you? Can I say sorry when I'm only partly my better half? I'm bound to lose. You like running blind, pulling me behind you. I compromise every time that I'm asked to. Oh, I can't be the answer, I can't be the end. I can't be your woman, I can't even be your friend. I can't make it easy, oh, but I can make it clear. The more you try to love me, the more I disappear, disappear, disappear,
That's Katie Tupper with Disappear from her debut album, Greyhound. She's going to be playing in Winnipeg at Festival de Voyageurs on February 15th. So just a couple weeks away. Can you believe it that it's actually already February out there? We all survived January, so congratulations to you. It's still cold today, but I can tell you there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It is minus 20 in Winnipeg. We're only warming up to minus 17 today, mainly sunny. But get this, if you look ahead, minus 10 tomorrow is the high with some periods of light snow, minus 5 on Wednesday, and then Thursday, the forecast high right now. I mean, that very well could change. We're talking rubber boot weather. 2. That's 2 above 0 on Thursday. Well, I'll have more in-depth weather for you coming up after the news, but do stay tuned with your business report coming up. We're going to hear that the federal government wants to diversify the investors involved in affordable housing. So we're going to get the details on that in your business report. That's coming up after your CBC Manitoba News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells. Yes, as Corey mentioned, it is minus 20 in Winnipeg at 6:30 and sunshine today on this Groundhog Day as we begin the month of February. Still colder than seasonal, minus 17, our afternoon high. The family of a woman who died after an 11-hour wait in a Winnipeg emergency room last month wants answers. 55-year-old Stacey Ross died January 16th after waiting to be admitted to a room at St. Boniface Hospital. Her sister Sherry says Stacey was coughing and experiencing chest pain when she got to the hospital. Staff ran tests. She was in stable condition. But something changed after Stacey was admitted to a room. Her oxygen levels dropped. A CT scan found she had a pulmonary embolism. Sherry says Stacey was diagnosed with pneumonia and was septic. The family has now not received an official autopsy report.
I mean, I just don't, once again, I don't understand how you could sit there for 11 hours fine and then die 2 hours after being in a room. I don't get it. And I just want to have answers as to what happened.
Sherry says her sister might still be alive had there been better oversight in the emergency room. In a statement, Manitoba's health minister offers condolences and says Stacey's death is being investigated as a critical incident. A new CBC investigation shows placing bets on some unlicensed online sports betting sites in Manitoba is easy. There's only one legal site here, Play Now. But we were able to place bets on several other sites not allowed to operate here. Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries estimates they lost approximately $50 million in net revenue last year to illegal offshore platforms. It's revenue the Minister of Municipal and Northern Affairs says should be staying here in this province.
They go to help build hospitals. They go to help build our communities. And when you're choosing to bet on the illegal platforms, you're investing in Malta, Gibraltar, or somewhere in the Caribbean. Nobody knows.
Early last year, the province filed an injunction prohibiting Bodog, a popular sports betting operator, from operating in Manitoba. Minister Simard hopes this deters other gaming brands from operating in Manitoba. A Winnipeg homeowner is exhausted just thinking about disputing his property assessment. In 2024, Jeremy Dias was able to work with the city to bring down his assessment. In another recent instance, he filed an application for revision. He recently got his 2027 home assessment. It went up from $400,000 to almost $600,000.
The process is brutal. You have to call the city. There's like this ongoing back and forth negotiation. And if you disagree, you have to go to a tribunal, in which case you have to take time off work to make that happen. And it requires hours and hours of your time.
The city says the proposed assessed values are not final, and it is working with homeowners to find the most fair assessment. The city says people can book appointments to ask questions or air their concerns. Well, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is back in Ottawa today after winning strong support at the Conservative Convention in Calgary over the weekend. Poilievre winning 87.4% of the vote in a leadership review. Jason Kenney, the former Premier of Alberta and former federal Conservative cabinet minister, says Poilievre did well at the convention.
I think the speech was very good. Generally, I thought it was a really good tone, following from his response to the Prime Minister's Davos address, which was constructive. One of the criticisms of Mr. Poilievre has been that he has, according to his critics, has appeared too often to be a tough opposition leader rather than Prime Minister in waiting. I think we're seeing more Prime Minister in waiting and more statesmanship.
You can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Well, today is Groundhog Day, and rodent forecasters across Canada will be checking their shadows. Manitoba Merv at Oak Hammock Marsh will make his prediction just after 8 this morning. Last year, he predicted an early spring. Jacques Bourgeois at Oak Hammock Wetland Discovery Center says he is accurate.
If he sees a shadow, then we have another 6 weeks. If there's no shadow, there's an early spring. But you know what? To be fair,
I mean, early spring or 6 more weeks, it's about the same for us in Manitoba. So I think he's got a pretty good track record for being accurate.
In fact, he says Manitoba Merv is the most accurate of all groundhogs in Canada. And just moments ago, Punxsutawney Phil in Pennsylvania predicted 6 more weeks of winter. Well, Bad Bunny won Album of the Year at the Grammy Awards last night, and Billie Eilish won Song of the Year in a ceremony with some Canadian nominees and winners. Justin Bieber performing Yukon in nothing but his underwear, socks, and tattoos. He was nominated in 4 categories but got shut out. Ottawa-born producer Circuit won 2 Grammys for Producer of the Year and Best Pop recording for Lady Gaga's Abracadabra. Canadian folk legend Joni Mitchell won a Best Historical Album. And Justin Gray, a bassist, composer, and sound engineer from Toronto, took home his first Grammy for Best Immersive Audio Album. And if you weren't watching the Grammys last night, you might have been watching curling. It was a Battle of Manitoba at the Canadian Women's Curling Championship. Carrie Anerson's Team Canada winning top prize.
I think I hurt my knuckle. I don't know. Yeah, I just thought, do this for your teammates, Carrie. They need you here, and we'll take this to an extra, and we'll go from there. And yeah, it was amazing. Called amazing, throwing great, and the girls just swept it.
Anerson's team, based out of Camp Morton, beat Manitoba's Caitlin Laws, who, of course, is based out of Winnipeg. You can find more Manitoba news at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That's CBC's Heather Wells. Welcome back to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk, sitting in today for Marcy Marcusa. Let's take a look at your forecast on this Groundhog Day. Still very much wintry out there this morning, minus 20 right now in Winnipeg at the Forks. We're going to be warming up to minus 17 today, and then it's going to dip down to minus 25 overnight, but it will get warmer throughout the week. Looking at the long-term forecast, minus 10 on Tuesday is the high, minus 5 Wednesday, and then boy, oh boy, 2 above 0 on Thursday is the forecast high. Heading up to Dauphin right now, minus 25 right now in Dauphin, heading down to warming up to minus 14 today, mainly cloudy for Dauphin. Also, throughout the week, you're actually going to be above 0 by Wednesday, according to the long-term forecast on Environment Canada. Cloudy, but warm, and even a chance of showers on Thursday. It's 4 above is the forecast for the long-term. I keep wanting to tell you what's going on now. I should tell you what's going on now, but I keep wanting to look ahead because I see a lot of warm weather ahead this week. Brandon, similar forecast for you, actually. Minus 18 right now, warming up to minus 14 today, but then by tomorrow, the high is going to be minus 4, and then minus 2 Wednesday, and then 4 and sunny on Thursday is the long-term forecast. And then Thompson, you're minus 30 right now. You are warming up to minus 16 today. I wish I could say that you're going to be above 0 at some point, just so you get a little reprieve. But it is going to stay cold for you for much of the week. Minus 11 is the high tomorrow, minus 10 Wednesday, and then minus 15 on Thursday, which is pretty on par for this time of year in the north. So that is your regional forecast for now. Still very much wintry, but we're going to find out from Manitoba Merv, I guess, in about an hour and a half or so for another 6 weeks of winter or not. Well, with us now in studio is Sierra Sanders, who's keeping an eye on the commute. Hello.
Hello, Corey. Not too much going out there right now. The commuter line is fairly quiet this morning as we kick off the first Monday of February. But, of course, I took a quick look at Manitoba 511. They're reporting highways west of Winnipeg as partly covered and some even with reduced visibility. And that's just a reminder to folks to check Manitoba 511 before you head out on the highways for up-to-date conditions and any other situations going on out there, because who knows if we're going to get more winter weather. You never know.
You never know.
We're going to find out from Manitoba Merv. But again, if anything is popping up out there that I don't know about and I would love to know about, whether you are here in the city or out on the highways, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number is 204-788-3093.
Thank you very much, Sierra. That is our studio director, Sierra Sanders. Well, Christelle Ramakan is here. Ramakan is here with the Business Report. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Corey.
So the federal government wants to diversify the investors involved in affordable housing. So what are the details on that?
Yeah, so the federal housing minister says he wants to ramp up the lagging pace of home building in some provinces by bringing developers off of the sidelines and into the government's affordable housing projects. So Gregor Robertson also says the new Build Canada Homes agency is working on getting Canadian banks and pension funds to play an active role in financing affordable homes. So Build Canada Homes launched in September with an initial $13 billion. And the agency carries much of the burden of the Liberal promise to double the pace of home construction in this country. And Robertson acknowledges that for a long time, housing has been a pain point for households struggling to make ends meet.
My hope is that we can attract capital by dramatically reducing the risk with affordable housing projects. That the federal government, in partnership with other levels and investors, can de-risk affordable housing and make it a long-term stable investment for Canadian capital.
But some housing experts say it's not clear what tax breaks or other mechanisms the federal government could use to convince big financial institutions to invest in affordable housing. Affordable housing tends to be nonprofit, and pension funds and banks have a duty to their beneficiaries and shareholders to maximize profit.
Well, moving on now to the box office. So there's the documentary for First Lady Melania Trump came out. How did it do?
Well, Melania is actually a breakout hit by box office standards. So the documentary had ticket sales of $7 million in Canada and the United States during its opening weekend. And that gave Melania the best start for a documentary, excluding concert films, in 14 years. But the movie also received a marketing rollout unlike any other documentary, complete with ads on buses and even commemorative popcorn tins at theaters. So by financial standards, the film is not a winner yet. So the company that financed it, Amazon MGM Studios, still has a long way to go to break even. Amazon paid $40 million for the rights and committed another $35 million for marketing, which is a lot for a documentary. And the Hollywood Reporter also called it the most expensive such film in history. And the spending has led Amazon's industry rivals to speculate whether the studio is trying to do all of this to win favor with the Trump administration.
And finally here, how is pop culture helping the sports business?
Well, the TV series Heated Rivalry has been good for the pro hockey business. An NHL spokesperson recently told The Hollywood Reporter that this might be the most unique driver for creating new fans. League Commissioner Gary Bettman says he watched the entire series in one night, and he credits the show for boosting general interest in the NHL. So on StubHub, interest in hockey tickets spiked 40% while the show's first season was running, and SeatGeek's weekly hockey ticket sales jumped more than 20% and revenue climbed 30% after the first episodes aired. And even the rink where Heated Rivalry was filmed has attracted hundreds of fans and thousands of social media mentions. And, this is not the first time this has happened, though. Netflix's docuseries about Formula One attracted new F1 fans, and the streamer's golf docuseries also drove more people to watch professional golf. And, of course, after Taylor Swift was shown in the stands cheering on the Kansas City Chiefs in 2023, home game ticket sales tripled on StubHub. And I know personally I'll be watching the Super Bowl to see Cardi B because her boyfriend's playing in it.
Oh, there we go. Well, thank you very much, Crystalie.
Thanks, Corey.
That's Crystalie Ramlakhan with your business news. Well, stay tuned. Here still to come. We're going to talk about the Conservative convention over the weekend and Pierre Poilievre's success in staying on as the party's leader. But first, we got some time for some music. Here's a new single from Nova Scotia's Jen Grant from her forthcoming album, Queen of the Straight. This is Crazy.
Every time you look at me, I don't need to make it so easy on you, baby. Every time you fall asleep, you don't need to pretend that I don't make you feel. I make you crazy. I make you crazy. When the sun is going down, it's just another day that I'm not around. When the stars come out to shine, they whisper everything to you that you're mine. I make you crazy. I make you crazy. How do you feel loading your gun? It's not how you fight for love. Every mistake's a chance that you take to show what you're made of. I don't pretend that it's gonna end. I'm not how I feel for you. Sun in your hair, it's not fair. I wanna be brand new. I make you crazy. I make you crazy. The bond that we made is the last piece I save. Even all that matters to me, you were the king, I am the queen. And all the time, how I tried, how I cried, still I found you were the one. You were the golden sun, and I am the light over the moorland sea. When the sun is going down, it's just another day that I'm not around.
Out of Nova Scotia, that's Jen Grant with Crazy, the track from her forthcoming album, Queen of the Strait. Well, stay tuned here on Information Radio. After 7 o'clock, we're going to take you to the snow maze in St. Adolphe, the massive snow maze in St. Adolphe. I got a behind-the-scenes look because they were putting the final touches on it last week. They've also got a full sports bar made of snow where people can go to watch the Olympics table. The whole bar is made of ice, so we'll take you there after 7. But right now, though, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre got emotional at the end of his speech at his party's leadership convention on Friday. The convention showed that the majority of Conservative Party members are united behind Poilievre. He passed his leadership review with over 87% of the vote from party delegates. Here's just a bit of Poilievre's speech.
People ask me, why? I keep going. You know, the slings and arrows, they're the easy part. Constantly being away from family, that's the harder part. You know, my little boy, Cruz, he cut out and colored a little paper Spider-Man and gave it for me to take on the road to stop bad guys. I look at it when I'm in the hotel room, sometimes late at night. It makes me smile. I see all those little scribbles and cut marks and imagine those little figures working away. And I know that one day I'll come home and those fingers will have grown big. And I miss him. And too often, I kiss my wife and daughter goodnight through FaceTime. So why keep going? Because we want our kids to have the same promise that we had. Because we want them to know that when you care about something, you work for it. When you believe in something, you fight for it. And most of all, when you start something, you never give up.
Because the unsung heroes who built and protect this country, who have it infinitely harder than I do, they never give up, so I have no right to give up. Because all of you who pound signs on frozen ground, knock doors on dark nights, and sacrifice warm family dinners for cold campaign pizza, you never give up, so I'll never give up. Because the young couple scrimping to start a family, and the single mother fighting each day to feed her kids, they never give up, so that we never give up. Because the Canadian Pacific Railway workers who pounded spikes into frozen ground and forged steel ribbon that united East and West, they never gave up, so we never gave up. Because the Canadian teenagers living in frozen, rat-infested trenches, who had it infinitely harder than we do, they fought on, they never gave up, and they won wars, so that we will never give up on our country in these times.
As Canadians, we don't give up because it's worth it to fight for our country, its people, and its promise.
Our Canadians, only Canadians, could carve the world's best country out of a big, cold, vast land, because we never give up, we never back down, we never run away, we stand united, tonight, together, always, because this country, its people, and promise are worth fighting for, because while some say this is as good as it gets, we know the best is yet to come. Thank you very much.
That was Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre speaking Friday at the party's national convention in Calgary. With the majority of the party united behind Poilievre, we've reached Lydia Miljan to help unpack what comes next for the Conservative and Canada's political future. She's a professor and department head in political science at the University of Windsor, and she joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Corey.
So take us through the results of this leadership review. We actually had Dorothy Dobie, a Manitoba former Conservative MP, on, and she guessed that it would go well over 80% support for Poilievre. So what stands out to you about the results?
Yeah, well, it's certainly, that he won is not a surprise. That he got the endorsement. The number, I think, is a little bit higher than I think a lot of commentators suggested. Getting 87% is a really good number for him, in part because it's just a good number, but also in part it's better than what Stephen Harper got when he faced a similar review after losing the 2004 election. So Stephen Harper got 84%. So that was sort of the benchmark, I think, for a lot of people, that he had to do better than Stephen Harper, and so he exceeded that number. So I think that he's probably feeling very good this morning.
So let's compare that for a second between Poilievre and Stephen Harper. What do you think that tells you that he, I think Harper got 84%, so 3 points higher for Poilievre. What does that mean going forward?
Well, I think it means that, not just going forward, but over leading up to this, that he was really working hard with his delegates, working hard on the base, trying to see what went wrong in the last election campaign. And during the campaign, he was getting attacked from within the party. And I think that was a real challenge for him. And a lot of the concerns were about centered on the nomination races, that they had parachuted a number of candidates and had sort of gone against what the local ridings were working on. So I think that he heard that and he addressed that in his convention speech, and obviously it convinced enough people that he got that resounding result.
And as much as this was a speech about telling people that, of course, trying to convince people that he should stay on as leader, it also in a way kind of tells you a little bit about the strategy and direction of the party. So what did you glean from the speech about where the party is moving?
Yeah, so the speech itself on policy issues, it was very similar to what we've heard from Mr. Poilievre in the run up to the last election campaign: cost of living, crime, things like that. But the tone was different. The theme, Canada is broken, it was completely absent from this speech. And also he really was focusing on the future, in part, as the clip you just ran, sort of how he ended it about, the best is yet to come, which is a very positive tone. But also equally, he was focused on who his new constituents are. The fact that, the party itself is now younger, that they've got so many more youth delegates, which, shows an invigoration, shows a change in direction. And a place, quite frankly, for a party to grow. If you have younger people being involved in the party, your potential pool of voters continues to increase.
We actually heard we played a clip from Jason Kenney earlier, who gave some analysis. Former, of course, Alberta premier, conservative, and is also MP, cabinet minister. He kind of said this kind of showed a change in direction in terms of being seen as a kind of perennial opposition leader to more prime ministerial. Is that what you gleaned from this as well?
I mean, it's always tough to know, what's prime ministerial in the minds of Canadians. I mean, I think that, if the fall of 2024, a lot of people thought Poilievre was prime ministerial in comparison to Justin Trudeau. It all changed, though, when Mark Carney came in. So Mark Carney has the advantage of just being older, having a stronger resume, more behind him, that he just de facto looks more prime ministerial. So really, I'm not sure if that's going to help Mr. Poilievre in the short term. A lot's going to just depend on how well this government does and whether or not it, when it wants to go back to the polls. But as it stands right now, Mr. Carney certainly is still, I think, in his honeymoon period, but has much higher favorabilities for the general electorate than Mr. Poilievre has.
Also, this convention took place kind of against the backdrop of the separatism movement taking front stage in a lot of ways in Alberta right now. How did that impact the convention?
Yeah, I can only imagine what those conversations off camera might have looked like, just because I grew up actually in Alberta, so I kind of get a sense of the room. So that I'm sure it would be part of the larger discussion. He did acknowledge it in his speech. He actually, interestingly enough, blamed the Liberals for it, saying the only time we had separatist movements was during a Liberal government. I think we can quibble about that. It certainly wasn't the case during the Harper years, but obviously a concern during the Mulroney years. But nonetheless, he put it at the door of the Liberals, suggesting that it would be different under the Conservatives. I'm not sure how it would be different, but at least he named it. He acknowledged it in the room, which I think is quite important given where, as you say, where the convention is located.
Also, last year we saw 2 Conservative MPs cross the floor to the Liberals, and one more resign. So how does Poilievre staying on now impact the chance of further defections?
Yeah, I'm not. I wasn't convinced that there was going to be more defections. I mean, certainly that's a talking point that the Liberals would like to emphasize, given that it suits their political purposes. But they said we were going to get defections at the beginning of the year. Those didn't materialize, and I think just on a personal level, it's very difficult to cross the floor for an individual. We see how Mr. Ma and Mr. D'Entremont were treated by the Conservatives when they crossed. You're gonna deal with a lot of slings and arrows if you cross the floor. And given that Poilievre got such a strong endorsement, I think most MPs would think twice about it, just given that it would just seem as at this point it would very much be seen as self-serving, and I don't think that they would necessarily want to go through that.
Only got about 30 seconds here, but finally here, what could this mean for the likelihood of a federal election?
Well, that's on that's all in Mr. Carney's hands. Given the tone of the speech and the fact that Poilievre said that he was going to be working with the Liberals, especially on key issues like trade, it's going to make it difficult for the Liberals to say that they're obstructionist and that Parliament's not working. And it's a big risk. I mean, even though Carney's doing well in the polls right now, campaigns matter, and they'd have to make the case to Canadians that somehow a year into their mandate that they can no longer govern is going to be a little bit of a sell. So, all depends on how those polls look in the spring and whether or not Mr. Carney's feeling lucky.
Well, Lydia, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure, Corey. Nice talking to you.
Lydia Miljan, professor and department head in political science at University of Windsor, also a senior fellow at the Fraser Institute. Time now for quick headlines with Heather Wells.
A new CBC investigation shows placing bets on some unlicensed online sports betting sites in Manitoba is easy to do, even though there's only one legal site in Manitoba. We'll hear more in our next local news at 7:30.
We'll see you after World Report.
Today on The Current.
There's more human beings behind the AI than there would be if you hired someone to answer the question.
In a world increasingly reliant on artificial intelligence, what does it mean to be human? The author Douglas Rushkoff joins us to talk about how he has gone from tech optimist to preaching the gospel of human connection. That's coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland. And on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Some police officers in Ontario say they are being unfairly penalized by traffic technology. Red light cameras are used to reduce collisions at intersections, but they can't tell who's at the wheel. That's the problem for officers who are responding to emergencies. Jason Vio has the story.
My job is to go out there and save lives. I use my discretion.
Sergeant Kent Rice is the union president for Windsor Police. He says some of the nearly 500 officers he represents feel they're being unfairly penalized by red light cameras. If the technology detects an officer running a red light while on duty, even with lights and sirens on, he says it leads to automatic discipline. 6 hours of docked pay the first time and 12 hours if it happens again.
I understand the balancing the line between public safety, but I also believe that this was never the intent of the system.
Provincial legislation has allowed red light cameras since 1998. The Ministry of the Solicitor General wouldn't comment on how they're being used to discipline officers, only to say it's up to each organization. In London, Ontario, Police Union President Gareth Harris says it's a problem there too. Recently, he says one officer was docked pay after rushing to help save a baby not breathing, making a right turn on a red, no traffic around, and not fully stopping.
I think most people would say that should be a justifiable offense.
Not all police agencies in Ontario operate this way. The Toronto Police Service says it reviews every red light infraction case by case to determine if an exemption is warranted. If not, the officer will be docked pay. That's what both police unions in Windsor and London want, for each instance to be examined before penalizing officers. London Police says it does review cases to see if the officer was justified, but didn't say how often those exemptions are made. Windsor Police did not respond to our request for a comment. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
A former British diplomat is again feeling the impact of his association with Jeffrey Epstein. Peter Mendelsohn had been Britain's ambassador to Washington, but he was recalled last September over links to the late sex offender. Now the latest release of Epstein files is implicating him again. Anna Cunningham has more from London.
There is one photo splashed across the British tabloids today, a picture of Lord Peter Mandelson, a peer of the realm, a former government minister and long-standing Labour Party member, seen in a T-shirt and his underwear. Standing next to him, a woman wearing a bathrobe, her face redacted by US authorities. Some Labour MPs have not held back their views.
He's embarrassed the Labour Party, he's embarrassed the Prime Minister, and he's an embarrassment to himself, to be honest.
Says Labour MP Joe White. Mandelson quit his membership of the Labour Party Sunday, saying he does not want to cause any further embarrassment. The latest Epstein files also allege some $75,000 was paid by the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein to Mandelson when he was a government minister. Mandelson says he has no recollection of the payments and questions their authenticity. He also says he cannot place the location or the woman in the photo, adding, "I cannot think what the circumstances were." He has repeated his apology for maintaining his friendship with Epstein. An apology also from the Norwegian Crown Princess Mette Marit. This latest cache of files revealing she too had a friendship with Epstein, visiting his Palm Beach house in Miami in 2013. In a statement, the Norwegian princess says she showed poor judgment and regrets any contact she had with Epstein. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
Ambulances and aid trucks enter the Rafah border crossing into Gaza for the first time in months. The key connection between Gaza and Egypt has been closed since May 2024. Today is considered to be a partial reopening. Crossings are limited and security checks are strict. Aid organizations are pressing the Israeli government to fully reopen the border. They say the Palestinian people are in a humanitarian crisis. This partial reopening is a key aspect of U.S. President Donald Trump's ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. Canada's defense minister says the decision to buy more F-35 fighter jets is still under review, but the 16 being built for the Royal Canadian Air Force will be delivered later this year. David Common takes us on an exclusive visit to the airbase where Canadian pilots will soon learn how to fly the F-35.
Arizona's Luke Air Force Base is a vast facility filled with fighter jets and pilots from the U.S., Europe, Japan, and Singapore, all here to train on the latest technology. By this summer, that will include Canadian Air Force pilots.
We're super excited.
American Brigadier General David Birkeland runs the base.
To bring them in and welcome them onto the team and into the family here.
For the international pilots here now, training alongside Americans in the midst of the Greenland threats and political eruptions between Europe and the U.S., it can all be challenging.
Interesting times, let's call it that.
Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Loisterberg is an instructor pilot for the Dutch Air Force. He says they can't let politics distract them here, and he adds, in spite of it all, he's glad the Netherlands chose the F-35.
I want to do the best I can. I want to win the war. I want to go home to my family afterwards. I mean, I think the F-35 is a way better platform than the Gripen.
That Gripen jet, built by Sweden, is the alternative for Ottawa, a capable but less sophisticated warplane. Canada could buy them and run a mixed fleet of fighter jets or go all in on the F-35. The choice, either way, is politically charged. David Common, CBC News at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona.
Gold prices slid about 2% on global markets today. This follows Friday's plunge of more than 11%. Gold hit record highs in January. Investors flocked to its safety with the growing geopolitical instability. Market analysts suggest this current drop is over worry about the independence of the U.S. central bank. U.S. President Donald Trump has nominated Kevin Warsh as the new Federal Reserve chair. He has long-standing ties with the U.S. president. The biggest stars in music were honored in Los Angeles.
And the Grammy goes to Bad Bunny, Debí tirar más fotos.
Bad Bunny made history last night at the Grammy Awards. He is the first Latin artist to win the award. He started his speech in Spanish. The night was filled with high-powered performances and political statements. The CBC's Magda Gabriel-Salasa takes us through some of the highlights.
Kicking off the Grammys with their hit, Apate, was Rose featuring Bruno Mars. That song is part of a genre that made history last night. K-pop got its first Grammy win. Golden, the smash hit from K-pop Demon Hunters, took the award for Best Song for Visual Media. Kendrick Lamar had a standout night as well. He's now the rapper with the most Grammy wins with 27, 5 of which he won last night, including Best Rap Album.
Every time I tell you this, hip-hop is going to always be right here.
Several Canadians were also in the spotlight. Justin Bieber performed but took home no trophies. Joni Mitchell took home a win for Best Historical Album. And Best Dance Pop Recording went to Abracadabra from Lady Gaga, produced by Canadian Circuit. He also won Producer of the Year, Non-Classical.
Once upon a time, I was a kid from Canada making beats in my bedroom, and now here I am.
During their winning speeches, several artists spoke out against the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement crackdown. After Wildflower won for Song of the Year, Billie Eilish had this to say.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Bad Bunny also spoke out during the night. This year, the spotlight has been firmly fixed on him. He'll be performing next weekend at the Super Bowl halftime show. Magda Gabriel-Salasa, CBC News, Toronto.
Punxsutawney Phil, the seer of seers. There is a shadow here on my ground. 6 more weeks of winter abound.
Pennsylvania's Punxsutawney Phil making the first prediction of Groundhog's Day. People in many countries are turning to animals and even shellfish for their predictions on how long winter will last. We are still waiting to hear from Lucy the lobster in Barrington, Nova Scotia. The province's famous Shubenacadie Sam, who is a groundhog, has been sidelined due to weather. And Ontario will be watching Wiarton Willie to see if he sees his shadow. If he does, that means 6 more weeks of winter. If not, it's an early spring. And that is World Report, your national and international news. I'm Marcia Young.
Come on, Manitoba Merv, be good to us this year. Just come on, just cut that winter short. We need it so bad. Right now, Winnipeg, we're sitting at minus 20. You're listening to Information Radio. I'm Corey Funk, sitting in today for Marcy Marcusa, and yes, it is Groundhog Day here in Winnipeg, but it's still going to be a very different day than it was yesterday. It's not going to be one of those repeat kind of situations. It is going to get warmer, actually, as the week goes on. Coming up this hour on the show, a CBC investigation found that offshore online gambling companies are operating illegally in Manitoba, and they're not as hard to access as you might think. We're going to get the details of that coming up later this hour. Also, the winner of our fabulous CBC Winnipeg prize pack to go see the WSO perform with CBC's Murdoch Mysteries. We're going to announce who the winner is with Daniel Maslany right here on the show. Also, there's no better place to get lost than in the gigantic snow maze that just opened this weekend in St. Adolphe. We got a behind-the-scenes look at the snow maze and the sports bar made entirely out of snow and ice where people can go to watch the Olympics. We're going to go behind the scenes coming up this hour on Information Radio. But right now at 7:11, let's check in with Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. Well, the daughter of a woman who died after an 11-hour wait in a Winnipeg emergency room last month wants answers. Stacey Ross died January 16th after waiting to be admitted to a room at St. Boniface Hospital. Morgan Ross says her mom sought medical help several times in January. After experiencing coughing and chest pain, she eventually was diagnosed with pneumonia and was septic. We're going to hear more on that story coming up. As well, a Winnipeg man dreads going through the process of disputing his property assessment again. The city has assessed Jeremy Dias's home at a value of nearly $600,000, up from $400,000 the last assessment. He wonders how they came up with that number. We're going to hear more coming up in our next local news at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That's CBC's Heather Wells. Right now, let's take a look at your weather here in Winnipeg. Minus 21 right now, actually, at the Forks. It is going to be warming up to minus 17 today. Mainly sunny. Not too windy either compared to what it was at least over the weekend. Wind 15 kilometers an hour or so, but you can still kind of feel that wind chill when it is this cold. It's going to cool down to minus 25 tonight, but then warm up tomorrow to minus 10 with some periods of light snow. Going to be more cloudy, overcast the next couple days. And then get this, we're looking kind of more long-term, minus 5 on Wednesday is the high here in Winnipeg, cloudy. And then Thursday, the high is above 0. And 2 is the forecast high for Thursday. And that's actually the case for much of southern Manitoba, is highs above 0 on Thursday. So I don't know how I feel about it being above 0, but at least it's warmer than it has been. So get your rubber boots ready. It's going to probably get a little bit slushy out there later in the week. Right now, let's check in with Sierra Sanders, our studio director, who is keeping an eye on the commute. Good morning.
Good morning, Corey. When I do hear that type of weather is on the way, it means I'm not going to wash my car.
Yes. Very
Not
smart.
doing that this week.
No.
Still pretty quiet on the commuter line, but the Winnipeg Traffic Management Center is reporting northbound St. Mary's approaching Abinogi-Meekina. There's a stall blocking the northbound median lane, so you'll want to keep right to pass there. So that's northbound St. Mary's approaching Abinogi-Meekina. There's a stall blocking the northbound median lane, so you want to make sure to keep right to pass if that is on your commute this morning. But yeah, as I said, the commuter line's been fairly quiet this morning. Not too much getting in folks' ways, in people's way There we go. Words on a Monday morning. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yes.
By the end of the show, it'll be great. So not too much going on out there, but if there is something going on that you want to let me know about, whether you were here in the city or out on the highways, I'd love to know about it so I can let your fellow listeners and commuters know what is going on out there. The number to call is 204-788-3093.
Well, a maze in Corn's gigantic snow maze in St. Adolphe just opened over the weekend, and I went there last week as they were putting the final touches on the maze before opening day. And this year's maze includes a restaurant and even a sports bar made entirely out of snow and ice. Not only is the bar and the tables themselves made entirely out of ice from the Red River, but there's also screens they're putting up to watch the Winter Olympics and a whole bunch of winter sports-inspired snow sculptures everywhere. It's a really cool vibe in there. I met up with Amaze in Corn's co-owner, Angie Moss, just outside the maze to hear more.
The snow maze, of course, is the world's largest snow maze. And, of course, every year it's a different maze. And then in the maze, of course, there's always the 5 huts that you have to find. And in there, that's where the snow carvers all work their magic and carve something new every year.
Can you just give us a sense of just how much work and how many people it takes? Because right behind us, just to set the scene for folks, there's people putting the final touches on the giant snow maze sign that you have. There's people going nuts with chainsawing stuff right now. How much like work? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I would say, we get up to about 30 people a day. There's the maze building crew, then there's all the carvers, and there's different, like every room has their own set of carvers. And then there's the ice milling, the snow building guys, the yard people, the tractor drivers, the snowcat driver.
Like, what were the challenges that went into getting it open this year?
I know. Everybody always asks, when are you opening? And it's always a big question because we're so weather related. You know, of course, it was too warm there, and then all the tractors sink and nothing sets. And then it was the deep freeze last week. And then, of course, nobody comes to work because it's minus 40. And so we are about a week behind. In the maze, the fun part is that there are 5 snow buildings to find. And that's, of course, like I said, where all the snow carvings are.
I know you want to keep some of it a surprise for people who are coming, but can you just give a little teaser of what some of the stuff inside the maze looks like that you're excited about?
That's a good question because everybody always asks us if we have like a general theme for the maze. And but each room is, their own set of carvers that have their own creativity and they develop their own theme for each room. So I know we have some fun tractors that you can get on in one of the rooms.
Like a snow tractor.
Yeah, like he's carved tractors. There's I don't want to say too many, but there's a big fish room if you like fish. There's a turret where you can go up and look out. There's a bale pyramid. And I haven't seen the last 2 rooms, so it's even going to be a surprise for me when I get out there.
I also know you've got a restaurant this year and a sports bar.
Yeah.
Let's go check that out.
Okay.
There's these 2 beautiful sculptures behind us. Can you just describe them for us?
Oh, yes. This is their rendition of a snowboarder. And, of course, then they have a hockey player over there. Of course, we're doing all the winter sports. And we have a few carvers that have been working away in here. Everybody gets a corner and comes up with their own idea.
I also love that there's also a bobsled in here as well that you can actually hop in and do it's a bobsled made of ice that you can hop in and do a little photo op as well in there too. It's pretty. Or put it in snow, yeah.
To do the real thing, but hey, we can take the picture and then pretend.
You can always dream. Use your imagination. That's awesome.
Yeah, come on over. We'll
okay.
Check it out.
Okay, let's go check it out. Let's go do it. It's so cool.
Yeah, so then it's fun because they try and make the carvings interactive, especially the ones out in the maze, because everybody wants to, have the photo going down the bobsled. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, let's go.
My name's Corby Pierce, a local carver here from Winnipeg, and I try and do as much as I can with ice in the bar just to give it some shine, and the bar itself, and as many little pieces as I can to make it something worth coming to see.
So we're beside one of your creations right now. Can you just describe it for us for our radio audience, just what you've carved here and what its function will be here at the bar? It's right on top of the bar. And just describe it for us.
Every year we try and do a bit of a centerpiece for the bar itself. And last year we had a dragon because we had a bit of a medieval thing going on. So we had a fireball breathing dragon. And this year I have a little snowboarder on top just to try and get the Winter Olympic and the sport theme going for the sports bar. So the idea is we'll have some signature drink over the course of the run of the bar that they'll pour through the top and it'll come out the bottom, and then people can come and buy a little ice glass and stick it under there and get their shot, and the people come in from the restaurant on the other side, or people can just pop in and grab a drink, and yeah, just get a little bit of a an Instagrammable type of feel to it. Yeah.
What do you love about doing this year after year?
Well, you know what? I know we are crazy. We do love winter. And, you know, when you live in Winnipeg, you have to love winter. And if you can get outside and make the most of it, that's certainly the best. And then just, of course, seeing all the carvers and these people that are so talented. Like we provide the venue, but really it's all their hard work that just makes the space come alive, and just so neat to see all their creations and talent.
That was Angie Moss, the owner of Amazing Corn in St. Adolphe. Their giant snow maze and sports bar opened just over the weekend here on Friday. She says the plan is to actually have the snow restaurant portion open for Valentine's Day weekend. Also, if you were watching on YouTube, we had some lovely visuals going on there. Big thanks to videographer Travis Golby for shooting and editing that piece.
The PWHL is back for the third season of heart-stopping women's hockey. And this season, there are two new teams looking to make their mark on the ice. The Seattle Torrent and Vancouver Golden Eyes. When the world's best women's hockey players face off, anything can happen. Will the Minnesota Frost achieve a three-peat? Will a new team take home the trophy? There's only one way to find out. Watch the PWHL for free on CBC Gem.
Well, as you've been hearing in the news, Bad Bunny has made history. He's become the first Latin artist to win Album of the Year in the 68-year history of the Grammy Awards. And here now is a song from that winning album. This is Bad Bunny with Vueltita.
Baby, te voy a dar una vuelta por la playita. Te voy a llenar de besitos en la carita. Un día conmigo es lo que tú necesitas. Sonriendo tú te ves más bonita. Baby, te voy a dar una vuelta por la playita. Te voy a llenar de besitos en la carita. Un día conmigo es lo que tú necesitas. Sonriendo tú te ves más bonita. Baby, yo sé. La vida es así. Ey, pero ponte el traje de baño, mami, que te voy a buscar. Te dejo mojadita, el sol te va a secar, sí, te va a quemar. Tú eres mi canción favorita y en repeat te voy a tocar, ey, te la voy a aplicar. Quiero dibujar corazoncito en la orilla. Tranquila, mami, yo te cargo la silla. Esos ojitos lindos, me encanta cómo brillan. Como una diosa puede ser tan sencilla. Ey. Y por un beso de la flaca yo daría lo que fuera. Tú me dices, si adentro o afuera, debajo del agua, nadie se entera. Baby, te voy a dar una vuelta por la playita. Te voy a llenar de besitos en la carita. Un día conmigo es lo que tú necesitas. Sonriendo tú te ves más bonita. Baby, te voy a dar una vuelta por la playita. Te voy a llenar de besitos en la carita.
Contigo me siento distinto. Hay algo cuando nos miramos y en el pozo nos dimos la mano. Así todo. Cuando no estoy en la buena, tú me llevas a hacer castillos de arena y los castillos se convierten en aldeas. Un pueblito donde no existen problemas. Y ahí soñamos con un futuro. Que estemos bien, no hace falta mucho. Por un segundo nos olvidamos de todo. Aquí solo somos tú y yo.
Vamos a besarnos frente a las olas. Aunque sea de piquito, de piquito, de piquito, pim, pim. Vamos a besarnos pim, pim, frente a las olas. Hay muchos mosquitos en la costa, baby, voy a
tú te ves más bonito.
That is Bad Bunny with Well Tita. Bad Bunny cleaned up last night at the Oscars. He became the first Latin artist to win Album of the Year in the 68-year history of the Grammys award. Did I say the Oscars? I meant to say the Grammys. There's just so many awards out there. It was the Grammys. I'm sure he'll clean up at the Oscars too. Why not? I'm sure there'll be some music award. Who knows? But next up here on the show, we do have Scott Reguer here with a look at your morning sports. Hello there, Scott.
Hey, Corey. I was just in my imagination. What is Bad Bunny on Espanol? Malo.
I wish I
Conejo. I think that might be the Italian. Anyway,
I'm sure that everyone calls him that exactly in the Spanish-speaking world. For
That's
sure.
right.
Well, let's start with curling here, Scott. What it's because we have to, because let's be honest,
Yeah.
Manitoba kind of cleaned up as well yesterday at the Scotties.
Final stone to get to Shot Rock. Stay with it. Burchard staying with it now. Have you got this angle to get Shot Rock? Have you got it? Oh, she does. The shot of a champion.
The legendary Vic Router there with the call on TSN, Corey. A legend in her own right made the shot, that being Gimli's Carrie Anderson, who drilled a short angle raise, forcing an extra end, and she would use it to beat fellow Manitoban Caitlin Laws and claim her 5th career Canadian title. The only skips who've won more, Jennifer Jones and the late Colleen Jones. Anderson was asked about that pivotal shot.
I don't know. I think I hurt my knuckle. I don't know. Yeah, I just thought, do this for your teammates, Carrie. They need you here, and we'll take this to an extra, and we'll go from there. And yeah, it was amazing. Called amazing, throwing great, and the girls just swept it.
Knuckle. It sounds like Carrie hurt her vocal cords there. But that is one of the hazards of the sport, having to yell loudly to communicate with sweepers over the noise of the arena. Arenas that are cold and dry and take their toll on athletes' voices. Anderson will now get set to test the climbs of the Mark and MacPhail Centre in Calgary, because that's where the World Championship will take place next month, where Carrie Anderson will represent Canada. In the meantime, Corey, the curling world will shift its focus to the upcoming Olympics, where mixed doubles, believe it or not, gets underway Wednesday. Jocelyn Peterman and Brett Gallant will wear the maple leaf in that competition.
We really should just change the name of the Scotties to the Manitobans. It's
kind of getting there, isn't it?
It really is. We do dominate. Well, speaking of the Winter Games, the head of the IOC is lamenting the major news stories that have consumed the world ahead of Milano Cortina 2026.
Yeah. Kirsty Coventry, Corey, faced questions about ice officials being on hand in Italy, about a main hockey arena that's still under construction, and a new batch of emails in the Epstein case showing flirtatious correspondence between LA Olympic Committee head Casey Wasserman and Epstein's one-time girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, dating back to 2003. Here is what Coventry had to say.
Anything that is distracting from these games is sad, right? There's always been something that has taken the leading up to the games, but what is keeping my faith alive is that when that opening ceremony happens, suddenly the world remembers the magic that the games have, and they get to be inspired.
The Winter Olympics begin Friday with the opening ceremony going at 12:30 Mountain Central Time, 11:30 Mountain. And CBC, of course, will have live coverage on all of its platforms.
And let's just finish here with tennis in a remarkable feat down under.
Yeah, 22-year-old Carlos Alcaraz beat Novak Djokovic to claim the Australian Open. Alcaraz thus becomes the youngest ever player to win a career Grand Slam, having previously claimed Wimbledon as well as the French and U.S. Opens. The Spaniard was asked, since he's had so much success so quickly, what will motivate him now?
I hate lose. So that's my motivation, trying to lose as less as I can. There are some tournaments that I just really wanted to win at least once, trying to win at least once, every Master, and obviously the Davis Cup.
Now, you heard Alcaraz mention there winning the Masters titles he's yet to claim so far. There are only 3 of those, one of them being the Canadian Open, which no doubt he'll be involved in Montreal this summer. He'll have a new tattoo at that event because having won in Melbourne, he's going to have a kangaroo tattooed on his ankle. He already has, from the French Open, an Eiffel Tower and a Statue of Liberty from the U.S. Open. And from Wimbledon, if you're wondering, it's not the Tower of London, not a cup of tea. It is a strawberry. He has embossed on his skin from that club's strawberries and cream tradition, just so you know. Jets in Dallas tonight, penultimate game before the Olympics.
Thank you very much, Scott.
You bet.
That is Scott Regehr with your morning sports. Stay tuned. We're going to announce the winner for our fabulous CBC Winnipeg Grand Prize to see Murdoch Mysteries with the WSO. That's coming up after your CBC Manitoba news.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it's minus 21. We've been dropping steadily so far today, but we will rise on this Groundhog Day to minus 17. Not lots of bright sunshine, and then we warm up to more seasonal temperatures starting tomorrow. Ads for online sports betting have been hitting national airwaves like a tsunami. They have made their way across provincial borders. A new CBC investigation found it was easy to place bets on some unlicensed sites when Manitobans are only allowed to bet on Play Now. Former gambling addict Teddy Wotowicz can't escape the commercials while watching sports.
It's triggering. I found myself, almost downloading the apps on my phone.
To date, Ontario is the only province to open its market to private sports books. Manitoba hopes a court decision from last year banning Bodog from operating in this province serves as a deterrent to other offshore brands considering the move. You can hear more on this story coming up in this next half hour right here on Information Radio. The daughter of a woman who died after an 11-hour wait in a Winnipeg emergency room last month wants answers. Stacey Ross died January 16th after waiting to be admitted to a room at St. Boniface Hospital. Morgan Ross says her mom sought medical help several times in January after experiencing coughing and chest pain.
The last time she went to the hospital, I said, "Don't leave until you find an answer." And she still hasn't found her answer even after passing.
Stacey's family says her oxygen levels dropped shortly after she was admitted to a room during her final hospital visit. She was diagnosed with pneumonia and was septic. The family has not received an official autopsy report. Morgan says they want to make sure this never happens to another family. In a statement yesterday, Manitoba's health minister offers condolences and says Stacey's death is being investigated as a critical incident. A Winnipeg man is dreading going through the process of disputing his property assessment again. The city has assessed Jeremy Dias's home at a value of nearly $600,000. That's up from $400,000 at the last assessment. He says having to negotiate with the city and go to the Board of Revision in past years has left him exhausted. And Dias wonders how they come up with this number.
It was just so outrageous. It was just so ridiculous. And I'm dying to know why the city had this valuation. What are you thinking that my house is like? What do you know that I don't know?
In a statement, a city spokesperson says they are booking meetings to work with homeowners to find fair values for their homes. The city says if people are unhappy with those outcomes, they can book another appointment when they get their final assessment in June. Well, gold prices slid about 2% on global markets today. This follows Friday's plunge of more than 11%. Gold hit record highs in January. Investors flocked to its safety with the growing geopolitical instability. Market analysts suggest this current drop is over worry about the independence of the U.S. central bank. U.S. President Donald Trump has nominated Kevin Warsh as the new Federal Reserve Chair. He has longstanding ties with the U.S. president. You can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. Well, Bad Bunny won Album of the Year at the Grammy Awards last night, and Billie Eilish won Song of the Year in a ceremony with some Canadian nominees and winners. Ottawa-born producer Circuit won 2 Grammys for Producer of the Year and Best Dance Pop Recording. Canadian folk legend Joni Mitchell won Best Historical Album for Joni Mitchell Archives Volume 2. The 82-year-old singer made a rare public appearance on stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
This is the most glitter and glam I ever saw at the Grammys.
And you can get the complete list of winners last night. Just head to cbcnews.ca. Well, it is Manitoba Merv's big day. Groundhog Day means the plush puppet at Oak Hammock Marsh will check for his shadow just after 8 o'clock this morning. If he sees it, 6 more weeks of winter, no shadow, and early spring. Jacques Bourgeois at Oak Hammock Wetland Discovery Center says Merv's predictions are the most accurate of any groundhog in all of Canada.
For many years, when we first started using our plush puppet, people were saying, well, it's just a plush toy. How can he be so accurate? But turns out, you know what? He outlives alligator groundhogs, and he's got lots of experience. So basically, that gives him a bit of an edge.
Well, so far, Punxsutawney Phil in Pennsylvania says he saw his shadow, so 6 more weeks of winter. Shubenacadie Sam in Nova Scotia didn't even try to get out of his burrow because there's a snowstorm, just stayed inside where it was safe. And Wyerton Willie is predicting an early spring. So a bit of a mixed prediction so far today. You can find the latest and you can hear more about what Merv has to say coming up through the morning, and more news at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
I'll say Manitoba Merv might be accurate, but I was watching on Newsnet, Punxsutawney Phil, they bring the production value for Punxsutawney Phil. They had
the big scroll?
Yeah, they had dancers, and they had pyrotechnics for him. They made it like a whole thing. I don't know if Oak Hammock Marsh is going to put on that kind of show, but it was very American. It was a very American way to bring it.
Wyerton Willie in Ontario did have a shadow cabinet.
Oh. That's very clever. Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you.
That is Heather Wells at our CBC News desk. I'm Corey Funk sitting in today for Marcy Marcusa. Let's take a quick look at your weather here. -21 in Winnipeg, heading for a high today of -17. And even if Manitoba Merv says we've got another 6 weeks of winter, he can't take this week away from us because it's actually going to be pretty mild here. So at the very least, it'll be a nice reprieve from this very cold weather we have. -10 is the high tomorrow, -5 on Wednesday is the forecast high, and then 2 above is the forecast high for Thursday. So it's going to be a pretty mild week ahead for us here in Winnipeg. Similar case in Dauphin, -14 is the high today. You're sitting at -25 right now, though. It is going to warm up. And even with some snow in the forecast for tomorrow, and then by Thursday, you might even actually have a chance of showers in Dauphin. Brandon, similar forecast. You're sitting at -18, heading for a high of -14 today with some periods of a light snow. And then it's going to get even warmer throughout the week. -4 on Tuesday, -2 on Wednesday, and then 4 above and sunny on Thursday. Thompson, though, as you get further north, it will stay cold for the rest of the week. -31 right now, heading for a high of -16 today. But it will be at least a little more mild compared to what it was. -11 is the high tomorrow with periods of light snow. -10 on Wednesday is the forecast high. And then -15 on Thursday. Sierra Sanders is our studio director, and she is in with a look at the commute. Hello.
Hello, Corey. I got a call from the traveling Transconian, eastbound Marion in the inside lane, just past Paulette Dugway Street. So that's just before ABC Fire as you're approaching Lagimodiere there. There was a collision there in the inside lane. It looked to have just happened, as they mentioned when they gave me a call. They had just driven past it. So eastbound Marion in the inside lane, just past Paulette Dugway Street, there has been a collision. So you want to make sure to keep right to go around there and make sure to proceed with caution as you approach that area of Marion there. So eastbound Marion, there has been a collision in the inside lane just past Paulette Dugway Street. So keep an eye out for that and keep that in mind as you continue on your commute. Still not hearing about anything else too major going on out there, but if that's not the case and there's something that you want to let me know about, whether you are here in the city or out on the highways, I'd love to know about it. Give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number is 204-788-3093.
Thank you very much, Sierra. That's Sierra Sanders, our studio director. And now it's time for our Murdoch Mysteries WSO contest.
Manitoba, a mysterious place. There's cases to be solved. Your help would be music to my ears and yours, because this prize pack is so good, it's almost criminal. Solve the clue, and you could be enjoying 2 tickets to Murdoch Mysteries, Murder in F Major with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. dinner at Kevin's Bistro, and a limo ride to get there, as well as a meet and greet with the actor who plays Lewin Watts on Murdoch Mysteries.
And yes, we are about to announce the winner of the contest. But first, just in case you missed it, here was Friday's clue.
He was the first man to escape over the wall of Stony Mountain Penitentiary and found a perfectly good hiding place, a log cabin near Ericsdale that he built himself.
So if you're wondering, the answer to that was Percy Moggy. He's a career criminal. He escaped Stony Mountain in 1960 and became Canada's most wanted man, living on the lam in a cabin he built himself in Ericsdale for 11 months before being recaptured. So if you emailed that answer to win@cbc.ca on Friday, you were one of the almost 500 people who entered our contest over the past week. So, and just to remind you, we heard it there earlier, but the winner, they get a CBC Manitoba prize pack, Murdoch Mysteries prize pack, dinner for two at Kevin's Bistro, 2 tickets to the WSO's Murdoch Mysteries Murder in F Major on February 7th, a meet and greet with Murdoch Mysteries star Daniel Maslany, and a limo drive for you to dinner, to the show, and home that evening. And actually with us now, we do have Murdoch Mysteries star Daniel Maslany. Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Good, good, good. So you are here to tell us the winner, and the winner is
Gudrun and Tosh.
Gudrun and Tosh. That's right. Thank you very much there, Daniel. And congratulations. I actually spoke with Gudrun a little bit earlier. Let's have a listen.
Oh my God, that is so wonderful. I am thrilled.
Yes. Are you a big Murdoch Mysteries fan?
Yes, I am. I love Murdoch Mysteries. I like the quirkiness of it.
Oh, that's great. And also you get to kind of see the some classical music as well on top of that. How are you feeling about seeing the show?
I'm excited about seeing the show. Actually, when it first was announced, I was like, oh, that would be so much fun, because I love I like classical music mostly on the Baroque side, but I'm intrigued by how they're going to explain how the music sets the tone.
Right. Okay. And in terms of your love of just mysteries in general, I'm guessing you did. You submitted. You got into the vibes of all the clues that we put out there into the world. Are you a big fan of just the mystery genre?
I love solving mysteries. I read a lot of mystery books. So I love the clues you gave. I missed the answer to the one that was the Ogopoga, the 40-foot monster one.
Yes.
I couldn't figure that one out, and I was like, okay, what's the answer to that one? But then the next day it was like, hey, got this.
And you didn't even have to Google, because I'm guessing some people probably Googled, but you got it just off the top of your head, most of the clues?
Most of the clues, yes. Most of the clues, it took a little bit of thinking. So most of the clues I did get just like that, but yeah, Google did help a little bit on some occasions.
Oh, good. Well, once again, Gudrun, congratulations, and I hope you enjoy your grand prize pack and your dinner and your night out as well. Should be a lot of fun.
Oh, it'll be wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for listening and taking part. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
That was Gudrun and Tosh, the winner of our CBC Manitoba / WSO / Murdoch Mysteries prize pack. And with us still is Daniel Maslany, who's joining us and will be there to perform. And Daniel, just remind us a little bit about what the event will be on February 7th.
Yeah, we're going to see a behind-the-scenes look at the music, how Robert Carley composes the music to specific scenes, and then we're going to have an episode. I've seen it once before. It's amazing. It's really cool to be able to feel the music, and also to have the music a little bit louder in the mix too. We subtitle the episodes so that you can read along with the dialogue. The dialogue's also there, but the music's just pumped up a little bit more. It's really beautiful.
I'm even wondering for you as well, Daniel, as you've, over the years you've performed and you've kind of internalized the show and the feel and the format compared to when you started. And now, when you are performing, can you almost visualize the soundtrack in your head as you're performing? How does that work? What is that like when you see your performance set to music?
Oh, I like that. I'll think about that the next time I'm shooting. We're not shooting right now, but next time I'm in a scene, I'll think about what the music might be. But I feel like Rob just has a great understanding of all of our characters and the kinds of things that complement our characters. So it is amazing to see how he fills in those details and complements the tone so much. Yeah.
Well, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your time and enjoy your time in Winnipeg.
Thank you very much.
That is Daniel Maslany. He is one of the stars of Murdoch Mystery. And congratulations again to Gudrun and Tosh, the winner of our Murdoch Mysteries Murder in F Major contest. That concert is happening February 7th. And thank you to the hundreds of people who entered.
What is the word for that feeling you get when you're lying on the couch at home and you're watching the news and you start to think that the entire world has gone completely insane except for you? What is that word? I remember now. Yes, that word is Canadian.
Rick Mercer is back with a brand new comedy special. Join Rick Mercer, Sophie Bunnell, Mace Galone, and Julie Kim in Stand Up for Canada. Catch all the laughs. Watch free on CBC Gem.
7:45 right now, and now that it is February, that means Valentine's Day is just around the corner. So I don't think it's too early to start playing a bit of a love song on the radio. Fleur Electra is the dream pop project of Toronto-based Saskatchewan-born Anna Klein, and she describes her latest release as one of the truest of love songs she's ever written. From Fleur Electra, this is Weather Girl.
Let's say we leave this party and all of the boys would get to something if we had the choice to do what we want to. No sense in looking for the validation. We've both been giving secret invitations. Oh, only God knows. We swim through the night. People wave on by. She's my weather girl. And when she twirls with the sun in her hands, she'll shine again and again. September, summer lends a different point of view, with shades of green and cascades of blue. It never has to be over. And in the blink of an eye, maybe the city could take us so high as the sky in my tiny apartment. No, I could have nothing to do, but I could do it with you. She's my weather girl. And when she twirls with the sun in her hands, she'll shine again and again. Maybe getting a hurt, nights get long, every night's perfect. Tell me why do we care? Everything's so different when we're losing yourself. Nothing's coming easy, you call me back as I am completed with the gleam in your eyes. Anybody I can see what we could be. She's my
That's Fleur Electra with Weather Girl. You heard it right here on CBC Radio 1. Well, a new CBC investigation has found that placing bets with some popular online sports betting brands in Manitoba was easy to do. This is despite the fact that placing a bet with anyone outside of Play Now, Manitoba's official sports betting site, is illegal in our province. Joining us now with more on this is CBC's Justin Fiacconi. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Justin, just tell us, what got you interested in this?
Well, I'm inundated with sports betting ads, and I'm not alone. These ads come at you every day on multiple platforms, and for many people, especially recovering gambling addicts like Teddy Wotowicz, it can be really triggering.
I was just sitting down yesterday, and this isn't just yesterday, but it's at every halftime, pregame, intermission, they're always talking about the best bets and, like what the experts will say, your best bets for the next quarter, for the next few minutes, for the next half. It's triggering. I found myself, almost downloading the apps on my phone.
And so my interest in this really started when I was actually at a conference in Finland. The conference was focused on a variety of issues related to sports politics and governance. And as I started to attend some of the sessions, I noticed that sports betting was a very hot topic. And the country I actually kept hearing the most about was Canada, particularly with regards to the presence of offshore betting companies. So this caught my attention. And when I got back, I wanted to better understand how it was that these companies could operate in Canada. And it turns out that outside of Ontario, which has more of an open market when it comes to gambling platforms, they don't have much authority to operate at all. So the federal government legalized single event sports betting in 2021, but when they did that, they left it to the provinces to manage and regulate in their respective jurisdictions. Manitoba, like most provinces, opted to manage online betting through a sole crown corporation. So here, it's Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries that conducts and manages online gambling in the province, and they make it accessible to Manitobans through the only licensed platform in the province, Play Now. But as I mentioned, people say other platforms aren't hard to access, so we did a test.
So yeah, tell me a little bit more about this test you did.
Right. So I should start by saying that journalistically, we're not trying to publicize a blueprint for how to gamble online using platforms that aren't legal in Manitoba.
Right.
So what I will say is that we tested 5 popular online gaming brands, all of which have registered and licensed platforms in Ontario, but not in Manitoba and many other provinces. For all 5, we attempted to register an account, deposit funds, and place a bet, and we were successful with 3 of them: Sports Interaction, TonyBet, and ToonieBet. And all 3 of these brands have been advertised in one form or another across the country, including here in Manitoba.
So then why does it matter that Manitobans have access to these unlicensed sports betting platforms then?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of the issues is that when these sites operate in places like Manitoba where they're unregulated, there is a lack of oversight of how they operate because they're not supposed to be here in the first place. And so they're not held to the same provincial responsible play standards and regulations that an operator like Play Now is, or a licensed platform in Ontario is. For example, gaming operators in Manitoba, which is just Play Now, are required to have a responsible gaming policy. That includes measures for educating the public and employees about responsible gaming, and to have a voluntary exclusion program for bettors. They have other measures in place, like weekly deposit limits, time management tools, and session reminders, which notify users how long they've been using the app. So for a better sense of the protections for bettors in Ontario's regulated market, here is Paul Burns from the Canadian Gaming Association.
Every operator in Ontario is required to monitor players for risk in real time. What that means is your play patterns are developed as a part of an algorithm of your play. And if you're playing a consistent manner, so it doesn't matter the amount, how much, how little, whatever it is, your play is monitored for risk. What that means is you're betting $100 a week. You make 10 bets a week. All of a sudden you put $1,000 in and make 100 bets a week. The system will flag you.
So this is not to say that better protections in Manitoba or in the regulated market in Ontario are perfect, but rather because the way so many of these brands are advertised, it's possible that people wouldn't think twice about whether or not the brands they're betting with are regulated or not. And therefore, they might not fully understand the risks and the vulnerabilities of using platforms that they are betting on. We've even heard from some university students who had no idea that the brands that they were using were actually illegal in Manitoba. And so one interesting fact here is that new data from Shared Health shows that while the overall rate of problem gambling in Manitoba is actually in decline, problem gambling from online gaming has actually been rising steadily over the past 5 years.
So do we know then how much money is actually going to these illegal gambling platforms?
So Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries says that illegal offshore betting sites earned about $95 million in gross gaming revenue last year. That's the difference between the amount wagered minus the amount won. So this is money that the province says would have been reinvested in Manitoba if it were spent on Play Now instead. Here is Glenn Simard, the minister responsible for Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries.
All revenues generated by that platform stay in Manitoba. They go to help build hospitals, they go to help build our communities. And when you're choosing to bet on the illegal platforms, you're investing in Malta, Gibraltar, or somewhere in the Caribbean. Nobody knows.
So Liquor and Lotteries estimated that the province lost approximately $50 million in net revenue last year to illegal offshore platforms. As a result, they reported a near 25% increase in operating costs, which was driven by legal costs and platform upgrades they say will help make the Play Now site more appealing to Manitobans.
So then what else is Manitoba doing to address this problem?
So, Corey, the province has openly said it's fighting to combat illegal online gambling operators in Manitoba. Early last year, this fight was in the courtroom where Liquor and Lotteries, together with the Canadian Lottery Coalition, won an injunction against Bodog, an offshore gaming operator which prohibited Bodog from operating in the province. Now, Minister Simard is hoping that this case serves as a precedent deterring the activities of illegal offshore gambling sites in the province. But as our test showed, the door is not completely shut, and some of these brands are still easily accessible.
Right. So then what did the province have to say when you told them about the test you did?
Well, they reaffirmed that the Bodog decision reinforces the fact that unlicensed offshore gambling companies are not legally allowed to operate in the province of Manitoba, and that Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries has the sole legal authority to provide online gambling to Manitobans. They wouldn't say exactly how much they're spending in legal fees to combat these operators each year, only that it is significantly less than the millions in lost revenue from online gaming sites operating illegally within Manitoba. So right now, it's unclear if they have any other legal challenges against these operators on the horizon.
Thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you.
Justin Fiacconi is a reporter with CBC Manitoba. Well, still to come here on Information Radio.
This year, they've proposed something that is quite literally 50% more. And so it's just disappointing. Because, what was the point of doing all that work 2 years ago to just be re-ignored this year?
That is one Winnipegger talking about appealing their 2027 property assessment from the city. Coming up, the city's Director of Assessment and Taxation will join us to give insight into the increases. That's coming up here on Information Radio after 8. But right now, though, let's check in with Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. Well, the daughter of a woman who died after an 11-hour wait in a Winnipeg emergency room last month wants answers. Stacey Ross died January 16th after waiting to be admitted to a room in St. Boniface Hospital. Morgan Ross says her mom sought medical help several times in January after experiencing coughing and chest pain. She was eventually diagnosed with pneumonia and was septic. We're going to hear more about what happened. Today's Groundhog Day, and rodent forecasters across Canada are going to be checking their shadows. Manitoba Merv, an actual puppet at Oakhammock Marsh, is moments away from making his prediction. His handlers say he is the most accurate groundhog in Canada, and last year predicted in early spring. We're about to hear what he has for this year coming up, we'll tell you, at 8:30.
I wonder if he takes bribes. I might consider it, maybe slipping him like a 20 just to see if he can
Just
bring.
please give us an early spring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or maybe seeds or nuts or something like that. I'm guessing more.
There
so.
you go. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Heather. That's Heather Wells at our CBC News desk. Taking a look at your traffic right now. Winnipeg Traffic Management Center is reporting emergency crews are helping clear a collision in the Inkster and Salter intersection. Tim also called about an illegally parked car northbound Osborne just before the underpass at Confusion Corner. Stay tuned after 8. We are talking about property tax assessments, how to appeal, and how the city determines what the proposed assessment is or the value is of your house. It's coming up here on Information Radio. We'll see you after World Report.
Today on Q.
I'm Talia Schlanger in for Tom Power. Remembering Catherine O'Hara. We'll revisit some of our favorite moments with the Canadian comedy legend, where she talked about some of her most famous roles in Beetlejuice, Home Alone, and Schitt's Creek, plus how growing up in a really big family shaped her sense of humor.
When we did SCTV, that was just made my dad so happy, because he was a jokester.
Q, this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen, or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
In a world increasingly reliant on artificial intelligence, what does it mean to be human? The author Douglas Rushkoff joins us to talk about how he has gone from tech optimist to preaching the gospel of human connection. That's coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Canada's defense minister says the decision to buy more F-35 fighter jets is still under review, but the 16 being built for the Royal Canadian Air Force will be delivered later this year. David Common takes us on an exclusive visit to the U.S. Air Base, where Canadian pilots will soon learn how to fly the F-35.
Arizona's Luke Air Force Base is a vast facility filled with fighter jets and pilots from the U.S., Europe, Japan, and Singapore, all here to train on the latest technology. By this summer, that will include Canadian Air Force pilots.
We're super excited.
American Brigadier General David Birkeland runs the base.
To bring them in and welcome them onto the team and into the family here.
For the international pilots here now, training alongside Americans in the midst of the Greenland threats and political eruptions between Europe and the U.S., it can all be challenging.
Interesting times, let's call it that.
Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Loisterberg is an instructor pilot for the Dutch Air Force. He says they can't let politics distract them here, and he adds, in spite of it all, he's glad the Netherlands chose the F-35.
I want to do the best I can. I want to win the war. I want to go home to my family afterwards. I mean, I think the F-35 is a way better platform than the Gripen.
That Gripen jet, built by Sweden, is the alternative for Ottawa, a capable but less sophisticated warplane. Canada could buy them and run a mixed fleet of fighter jets, or go all in on the F-35. The choice, either way, is politically charged. David Common, CBC News at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona.
Russia is confirming the next round of trilateral talks with U.S. and Ukraine will resume this week. They are aimed at ending the war in Ukraine.
Kremlin
spokesperson Dmitry Peskov says they will take place on Wednesday and Thursday. A second round of negotiations had been planned for this past weekend in the United Arab Emirates. Peskov says they were postponed over scheduling matters. This week's meeting in Abu Dhabi will be the second time Russian, Ukrainian, and American delegates have come together. New research suggests that more young Canadians are being diagnosed with psychotic disorders, and they're being diagnosed at a younger age. The research looked at more than 12 million people in Ontario. And as the CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reports, researchers believe cannabis could be playing a role.
I would start hearing what I thought was people talking to me through the vents.
In his early 20s, Sean Heron says he started hearing voices telling him to hurt himself. After getting help, he was eventually diagnosed with schizophrenia.
I was happy that I was getting help for it.
According to new research in the Canadian Medical Association Journal, Heron is part of a growing number of young people diagnosed with a psychotic disorder.
Rates of psychotic disorders have been going up.
Dr. Daniel Myron is the lead author of the new study. It looked at more than 12 million people in Ontario, born between 1960 and 2009. Findings showed higher rates of psychotic disorders among 14 to 20-year-olds compared with older people. The research doesn't look at what's driving this, but it speculates.
We've done some previous research showing that episodes of cannabis-induced psychosis.
This is a crisis.
Dr. Sarah Brandy Gumpala is a psychiatrist in Ottawa. She works at an early psychosis intervention program. She says they've been overwhelmed with requests for help.
In males, we're seeing a younger age of onset and a stronger correlation to cannabis use.
Experts say catching symptoms early helps. And to reverse this trend, they want more education on the possible harms of cannabis use in teens. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Toronto.
Some police officers in Ontario say they are being unfairly penalized by traffic technology. Red light cameras are used to reduce collisions at intersections, but they can't tell who's at the wheel. That is a problem for officers who are responding to emergencies. Jason Vio has that story.
My job is to go out there and save lives. I use my discretion.
Sergeant Kent Rice is the union president for Windsor Police. He says some of the nearly 500 officers he represents feel they're being unfairly penalized by red light cameras. If the technology detects an officer running a red light while on duty, even with lights and sirens on, he says it leads to automatic discipline. 6 hours of docked pay the first time and 12 hours if it happens again.
I understand the balancing the line between public safety, but I also believe that this was never the intent of the system.
Provincial legislation has allowed red light cameras since 1998. The Ministry of the Solicitor General wouldn't comment on how they're being used to discipline officers, only to say it's up to each organization. In London, Ontario, Police Union President Gareth Harris says it's a problem there too. Recently, he says one officer was docked pay after rushing to help save a baby not breathing, making a right turn on a red, no traffic around, and not fully stopping.
I think most people would say that should be a justifiable offense.
Not all police agencies in Ontario operate this way. The Toronto Police Service says it reviews every red light infraction case by case to determine if an exemption is warranted. If not, the officer will be docked pay. That's what both police unions in Windsor and London want, for each instance to be examined before penalizing officers. London Police says it does review cases to see if the officer was justified, but didn't say how often those exemptions are made. Windsor Police did not respond to our request for a comment. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the Kennedy Center will be closing for 2 years. Just weeks ago, Trump added his own name to the building. Several artists have since canceled performances at the venue. Trump says the center needs to close for construction. The CBC's Aaron Collins is following the story from Washington. Aaron, what do we know?
Well, we know the president is unhappy with the Performing Arts Center that now partially bears his name, calling the venue tired, broken, and dilapidated in a social media post on Sunday, insisting that it needs a refresh. So Donald Trump writing that the center has been in bad condition both financially and structurally for many years, and that he wants to turn it into a world-class bastion of arts, music, and entertainment. Now, Trump says the decision to renovate was made after consulting a collection of musical experts, art institutions, and advisors. The president saying he was told the best way to revamp the center would be to shutter it for up to 2 years, beginning on July 4th this summer. And Donald Trump does say that to move forward with the renovations to the center, he'll need the approval from the center's board, which of course he now chairs.
What are we hearing in terms of reaction?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's being met with skepticism, to say the least. Of course, Donald Trump just added his name to the former Kennedy Center in December, and that rebrand was panned by many, including a number of longtime performers who canceled shows at the center. And on top of that, Democrats in Congress have challenged Trump's ability to change the name to the center, which was originally named to honor President John F. Kennedy after he was assassinated. Some Democrats, like Representative Shelley Pingree of Maine, say the closure is more about covering up the damage Trump has done to the facility.
He has run it into the ground financially. He's made it a place where performers don't want to perform and individuals don't want to attend performances.
Pingree says she hopes to stop the shuttering of the center, saying she'll look into whether Trump needs congressional approval to move forward with the planned renos.
All right. Thanks so much, Aaron.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Aaron Collins in Washington. Bad Bunny was a big winner at the Grammy Awards.
I want to dedicate this award to all the people that had to leave their homeland, their country, to follow their dreams.
The 31-year-old from Puerto Rico is the first Latin artist to win Album of the Year. He gave most of his speech in Spanish and spoke out against U.S. immigration policies. Other big winners included Olivia Dean, who won Best New Artist, and Kendrick Lamar, who took home 5 awards, including Record of the Year. Canadian Justin Gray took home the award for Best Immersive Audio Album.
To Toronto, to Canada, we love you. Wow. Music is a gift that we all share, and can we maintain and just continue to uplift each other through this beautiful art form. Thank you.
Gray teaches audio production at Toronto's Humber Polytechnic. He is the first Canadian ever to win in this category. This is his song Illuminate from his now award-winning album Immersed. That is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. You're listening to Information Radio here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk, in for Marcy Marcusa. Happy Groundhog Day. Yes, this half hour, we're going to find out whether a furry puppet named Manitoba Merv is going to predict another 6 weeks of winter here in our province or not, because somehow that's something we've all collectively decided to do together to try to figure out if winter's around the corner, maybe give us all a little bit of hope after a very, very cold January. Also, this half hour on the show, we're hearing from lots of people who were surprised to get those property tax assessments in the mail that show a big jump in their home's assessed value from the city. So we're going to hear from the city's director of assessment and taxation about how they determine those prices and what can be done if you think it's not accurate. 8:11 right now. Let's check in with Heather Wells with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. Well, a new CBC investigation shows placing bets on some unlicensed online sports betting sites in Manitoba is easy to do. There is only one legal site in Manitoba, Play Now, but we were able to place bets on several other sites not allowed to operate here. We're going to hear more on that. And I know everyone's on pins and needles. We've been talking about it this morning. The puppet, Manitoba Merv, it's his big day. Well, Merv has been at work in the last couple of minutes and has predicted a longer winter, 6 more weeks of winter. Merv saw his shadow, scared back inside. And so 6 more weeks of winter for us here. We'll hear more about that as well. He's not quite in step, though, with his other Canadian compatriots, Wiarton Willie in Ontario and Punxsutawney Phil in Nova Scotia, both predicting an early spring.
Well, I only trust real
puppets?
Real puppets. Yeah, no, I'm assuming it's going to be the exact opposite. So, I need a real groundhog to come up there and he needs to tell me to my face, and then I'll believe him. But
you
puppet,
can't
no way.
leave big decisions like this to real wildlife.
That's true. Such a strange tradition overall. I just keep thinking about it every year. I was like, and this is a thing that somehow we all decide to just weirdly believe.
But it's kind of fun.
It is fun. It really is. And you know what? Why not? You know what? Anything. And he just stole all my hope away. He should just tell us every year that winter's going to be short. That's what I needed. That's what we all needed to hear today. And he really let us down. So, way to go, Manitoba Merv.
You know what, though? Let me just say this. If we have 6 more weeks of winter, for Manitoba, that is an early spring.
Well, that's I guess that's one way.
Because that takes us to middle of March, right?
I guess so. Maybe that's a nice way to look at it. Thanks, Heather, for always being the lift that we need.
Just helping see the bright side.
Exactly. Thanks, Heather. Have a good one. That's Heather Wells at our CBC News Desk. And yes, even though we are apparently in for 6 weeks, more weeks of winter, they can't take this week away from us because it's actually going to feel pretty spring-like, at least for part of the week. Right now, Winnipeg, we are at minus 21. We are going to be warming up to minus 17, but I just want to skip right ahead to Thursday, which actually right now the forecast high in Winnipeg is 2. That's 2 above. And the next couple days as well. The high tomorrow is minus 10, periods of light snow, and then the high on Wednesday is minus 5 and cloudy. So overall, we do have a mild week ahead of us that's forecast. So at the very least, we'll get at least maybe a little taste of spring-like weather this week, even though even if we do have more 6 weeks of actual winter ahead. But it's a similar case in Dauphin and Brandon as well, a more mild week ahead. And then up in Thompson, still minus 32 for you right now, warming up to minus 16. You will stay below zero for the rest of the week, but more mild though. Minus 11 is your high for tomorrow, and then minus 10 on Wednesday is your high for Thompson. Sierra Sanders, our studio director, is in with a look at the commute. Hello.
Hello, Corey. A couple things to note. Eastbound Marion approaching Dawson. They're still reporting a collision blocking the eastbound median lane. So you want to make sure to keep right to pass there. So that's eastbound Marion approaching Dawson. There's a collision blocking the eastbound median lane. So you want to make sure to keep right to pass there as well. Winnipeg Traffic Management Center is reporting emergency crews helping clear a collision in the intersection of Inkster and Salter. So at Inkster and Salter, emergency crews are in the intersection helping clear a collision that happened there. As well, northbound St. Mary's approaching Abinogi-Mikina. We're still hearing about a stall blocking the northbound median lane. So you want to make sure to keep right to pass there. So that's the northbound median lane there on St. Mary's approaching Abinogi-Mikina. As well, still hearing about that illegally parked car just before the underpass at Confusion Corner there as you're heading northbound Osborne. So northbound Osborne, there's an illegally parked car just before the underpass at Confusion Corner there. It's still there, it's sounding like, so you want to make sure to keep that in mind there on your travels. Still a little bit of time left in the show, so if there's anything that is popping up there on your commute, give me a call on the CBC commuter line, whether you are here in the city or out on the highways. The number to call is 204-788-3093.
Well, as you may have been hearing in the news, one Winnipegger is appealing the assessed value of his home for the third time. This comes after the city mailed out 2027 proposed property value assessments. Jeremy Dias lives in the Charleswood area, and his neighborhood is seeing the second highest median increase for Winnipeg home value assessments, 15%. This is what Jeremy told CBC's Gavin Axelrod.
The last evaluation 2 years ago, we were able to settle on a reasonable amount for our home, which was $400,000, and now they're proposing that our home is worth nearly $600,000. So that's, quite literally 50% more of the value of our home, which would nearly double our municipal taxes.
When you opened that letter and you saw $593,000, like what kind of went through your head?
Oh my gosh, it was just so outrageous. Like it was just so ridiculous, and I'm dying to know why the city had this valuation. Like, what are you thinking that my house is like? What do you know that I don't know? I also feel that if they're proposing a high valuation, there should be an explanation behind that, beyond just property values have gone up.
How long did it take you, like the last time you did the process?
Oh my gosh, it easily took me 40 to 50 hours. So like a good work week of time. But like more than that, I was really disappointed with the mayor's statements on this issue. For him to say that an increase in our property values does not necessarily increase in our taxes is really erodes trust in government and is rather deceptive, frankly.
That was CBC's Gavin Axelrod speaking to Jeremy Dias about his frustration with his property value assessment. And he's not alone. CBC has learned from several Winnipeggers who are concerned, or we've heard from several Winnipeggers who are concerned about what the city says their house is worth and what it could mean for their property taxes. Tim Austin is the Director of Assessment and Taxation for the City of Winnipeg. Good morning.
Good morning, Corey. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for joining us. So Tim, I mean, as we heard, Winnipeggers like Jeremy there is just really wants an explanation for, why he saw such a jump, and he's not alone. So, what factors could contribute to a big increase like that?
Yeah, Corey, if I could start, just if you can indulge me and your listeners indulge me a little bit by saying that we do send out proposed residential assessments at this time of year. Every second year for a general assessment, as it allows property owners to review their proposed assessments, their property information, allows comparisons, and provides the ability for property owners to arrange a telephone appointment with us to discuss their concerns or questions with our valuation staff before our final assessments are sent out in early June. We've been doing this a long time with the preview program, and it's been successful, and we do have a lot of customer contacts. And we learn a lot about properties at times that we may not have information that we may not have known. If there's a problem with the property, we may not know that. If there's renovations done, we may not be aware. So these things come to our attention based on people reviewing their property information and giving us a call. Having said that, the city, part of that hopefully answers the first part of your question. I can't get in specifics about Mr. Diaz's property. I don't know where he lives, and I don't have that information. Plus, I wouldn't do that in a public forum. He could certainly call and set up an appointment and discuss the issues with his property. If there is an issue, we can certainly look at that. We may have to arrange an inspection to go out or have a virtual inspection so he can show us the issues, and that may result in a change, may or may not result in a change depending on what the issues are. So to kind of answer your question about what leads to us and what we look at, assessed value is an estimation of what a home would sell for on the open market between a willing buyer and a willing seller if it were to take place on a certain reference date. And the provincial legislation tells us that we have to look at April 1st, 2025 as kind of the line in the sand. The city of Winnipeg and our department has access to information on homes that have sold in different neighborhoods throughout the city of Winnipeg. We analyze those sales. We really look at them. We look at market trends of what we're seeing when we're investigating the sales, and adjustments are made to estimate what, say, a home sale in June of 2024 might have sold for on April 1st, 2025. That information is used to help us arrive at values for the rest of the residential properties that haven't sold. Again, looking at things, we make adjustments based on characteristic data, and some of that data is based on size. Not every house is 1,000 square feet or 1,100 square feet, so we do adjustments for size, age of the property or the building. We look at location, building quality, basement finish, and those sorts of things will, normally add value or change the value a little bit from those houses that sold.
When someone kind of gets that proposed, that piece of paper, and they look at it, and how often is it there's someone that actually has taken time individually to look at their house, or can they assume it's kind of based on more of like a general market a trend? How much work does the city put into like really dig down into each individual house?
Yeah, a lot of when we have to revalue all the properties in the city of Winnipeg, it's through the analysis of sales. We do talk to a lot of property owners, especially through the preview program, and outside of that program, we get a lot of information through those conversations, as well as sometimes through the appeal process. We don't go out during every reassessment and look at every property. We won't be able to do that. The city of Winnipeg has over 240,000 properties in it. We would never be able to do that in a 2-year period.
And so you said there's the option of setting up a phone appointment. Is that where people can learn like the kind of exact factors that went into determining the price of the proposed price of their property?
Yeah, a few things. There's a lot of information, Corey, that we post online that we make available to property owners. If they can certainly call us, and we're happy to talk to them. Right, we're happy to hear their thoughts and talk specifically about their property. Our website, has a dedicated page to our 2027 residential preview program. It includes key dates as well as links to some key information that may help people or property owners when reviewing their proposed assessment. For example, we have our brochure that everybody would have received within their letter, a map showing the median market change. We also include and post residential sales information that contains high-level facts about the sale. We don't get into the granular details there, but we do show the address of the house that was sold, the type of property, if it was a bungalow or 2-story, the year built, the square footage, the year of the sale, and then the adjusted sale price to that April 1st date. We include also on our website, we have lots of FAQs or a number of FAQs that help. We also have a document that shows kind of some details about our mass appraisal models for both residential and condominium properties for the 2027 general assessment. So there's a few things online. There's also, they can review through a map online, Corey, that shows their neighborhood, or they can search on any property in the city for high-level information that shows, say, the current 2026 property assessment as well as the proposed assessment for 27. They could see how their neighbors or similar houses are going or changing in their neighborhood. We also have a secure website, and people would have a user ID on their preview note or preview letter, assessment letter, called My Properties. They can sign in, property owners can sign in and see specific information about their property in more detail. For example, they can see their property attributes and things that we have listed, such as square footage, number of rooms, bathrooms, basement finish. I would recommend property owners taking a look at that. Maybe they've done something to the house that we're unaware of, and we have one of these attributes maybe incorrect. We can change that attribute, which may impact your value. That helps ensure that our records match what the property has. They can also see on that website comparable properties that we've listed where they can review and say, oh, these houses are similar to mine, and that's what they sold for in my neighborhood. So there's a lot of information that they can do online. But additionally, you're right, they can give us a call. It's a 15-minute appointment, but a lot can be discussed in 15 minutes with our valuation staff to review the property, ask questions about and their concern to address their concerns. And this program runs until April. The residential review program runs until April 10th.
So there's the phone call, but can you just walk through like what that formal appeal process is as well? If someone really wants to dig down and say, hey, this is not what my home is worth.
Absolutely, Corey. This process and what we've done with the preview letters, this isn't an official appeal period. This is a proposed value that we're sending out so people can digest it, take some time to think about it, look at it, compare, talk to us if they need to. If the property owner, after talking to us, is still not satisfied on our position or maybe a change that we can make based on maybe some information that we didn't have, they can file an application for revision once the 2027 assessed values are mailed out in early June. They're going to be mailed out on June 4th. And then you could file an application for revision to the Board of Revision in between June 4th and the deadline is on June 29th. And that goes into a more formal process. And in that process, the City of Winnipeg will go and we'll have conversations leading up sometimes. And maybe we could still resolve that prior to the actual hearing. If we don't, and there's no agreement to be made or people still don't like the value that we're at, we can go there. What the city does is that we will bring comparable properties. We'll talk about the property to support our value. And property owners should bring and should do some homework, like Mr. Diaz talked about. I don't know how long some people may take more time, but to review what sales have gone in their neighborhood, what similar properties, if their property is similar to other properties, and to facilitate a discussion for the Board of Revision to make a decision.
We kind of heard the frustration there in Jeremy's voice. What's your reaction to those who say that this appeal process of getting things changed is difficult and time consuming? It may even be a deterrent to some people who might really feel that this is not the right price, but it's just don't have the time to make it happen.
Yeah, for the time, time is valuable for sure, Corey. And I'm going to tie it back to our preview program. We've extended the period of time that we open up to talk to people to April 10th. Our hours, we start at 8 a.m. So people start at work at 9. We can have that conversation beforehand. We also work into the evenings during this time to allow people so they don't have to take time off work to have that conversation with us. In filing an application to the Board of Revision, there is legislation that needs to be followed, and they schedule things. The Board of Revision for the 2027 general assessment, Corey, will start hearing applications for revision. I believe the first sitting is sometime it's about middle of July. and we hear all the border revision applications by the middle of February. So it does take time to get all that done, and we try to get that done all before we have to produce the 2027 property tax bills.
Okay. And just wondering, have you heard more complaints from people this year than in past years?
You know what? Our preview program right now is booked till the end of February. That's not uncommon. We do hear a lot. I've heard maybe a little bit more media play this year than I have in other years, and that's okay. And people, these are people's homes, and they open up an envelope and they see a number, and part of it is about education and trying to educate folks about how that means and what that works at. And this is, it opens up conversation, which is a very good thing, right? And we're here to talk to property owners and try to explain how assessments are, how we derive their assessment at their property level, and try to explain and review kind of comparables and what their home has compared to others. A lot of people will look at a home, Corey, and say, I live in the exact same home as them. Why is mine assessed higher? Well, the home maybe across the street maybe has, they don't have a finished basement, they don't have a bathroom in the basement, those sorts of things, right, that people may not be aware of just by looking at the exterior of the building.
Well, we'll leave it there, Tim. Thanks for your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Tim Austin is the Director of Assessment and Taxation for the City of Winnipeg. Time now for your CBC Manitoba News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it is sunny, minus 21 right now. A high today of minus 17 with a risk of frostbite. We warm up tomorrow. A new CBC investigation shows placing bets on some unlicensed online sports betting sites in Manitoba is easy to do. There is only one legal site, though, in Manitoba, Play Now. We were able, even so, to place bets on several other sites not allowed to operate here. Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries estimates they lost approximately $50 million in net revenue last year to illegal offshore platforms. It is revenue Glenn Simard, Minister of Municipal and Northern Affairs, says should be staying here in this province.
They go to help build hospitals. They go to help build our communities. And when you're choosing to bet on the illegal platforms, you're investing in Malta, Gibraltar, or somewhere in the Caribbean. Nobody knows.
Early last year, the province filed an injunction prohibiting Bodog, a popular sports betting operator, from operating in this province. Simard hopes it deters other gaming brands from operating in Manitoba. The family of a woman who died after an 11-hour wait in a Winnipeg emergency room last month wants answers. 55-year-old Stacy Ross died January 16th after waiting to be admitted to a room at St. Boniface Hospital. Her sister Sherry says Stacy was coughing and experiencing chest pain when she got to the hospital. When she was admitted to a room, her oxygen levels dropped and a CT scan found she had a pulmonary embolism. Sherry says Stacy was diagnosed with pneumonia and was septic.
It never should have happened. I mean, I just don't, once again, I don't understand how you could sit there for 11 hours fine and then die 2 hours after being in a room. I don't get it. And I just want to have answers as to what happened.
Sherry says her sister might still be alive had there been better oversight in the emergency room. In a statement, Manitoba's health minister says Stacy's death is being investigated as a critical incident. A Winnipeg man is dreading going through the process of disputing his property assessment again. The city has assessed Jeremy Dias's home at a value of nearly $600,000. That's up from $400,000 in the last assessment. He says having to negotiate with the city and go to the Board of Revision in past years has left him exhausted. Dias wonders how they came up with that number.
It was just so outrageous. Like, it was just so ridiculous. And I'm dying to know why the city had this valuation. Like, what are you thinking that my house is like? What do you know that I don't know?
In a statement, a city spokesperson says they are booking meetings to work with homeowners to find fair values for their homes. The city says if people aren't happy with those outcomes, they can book another appointment when they get their final assessment in June. Well, it was the Battle of Manitoba at the Canadian Women's Curling Championship.
Oh, no, they touched it, and it won't go. And it'll be a 5th championship for Carrie Anderson.
And Carrie Anderson's Team Canada won the top prize in women's curling. Her team, based out of Camp Morton, Manitoba, beat Caitlin Laws of Winnipeg. Well, Manitoba Merv has spoken, and there is no early spring for Manitoba.
The moment we've been waiting for is here. The sun is rising, and Manitoba Merv is making an appearance. He's looking around. Yes, there is a shadow. We have another 6 more weeks of winter here in Manitoba. Sorry for those who are waiting for an early spring. That's the sad news. It's another 6 more weeks. But for those who love winter, 6 more weeks to come and snowshoe and explore the marsh.
Jacques Bourgeois at Oak Hammock Wetland Discovery Center. I don't know if you know, Merv is a puppet, but Bourgeois says Merv's predictions are the most accurate in all of Canada. Meanwhile, in Ontario, Wyerton Willie and Fred Lamarmont in the Gaspésie region of Quebec both predict an early spring. And in the U.S., Punxsutawney Phil in Pennsylvania predicts 6 more weeks of wintry weather after seeing his shadow this morning. So a bit of a mixed reaction to the kind of weather we can expect as we move through this final part of winter. You can find the latest news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
You know, we need like a Brandon Betsy who just always comes in with like a like a dissenting opinion to whatever Manitoba Merv says, and then
A contrarian puppet.
Yes, exactly. Get some drama going, and then I think that's what we really need here.
Okay, let's push for that.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
That's Heather Wells at our CBC News desk. Let's take one last look at your commute with Sierra Sanders.
Good morning, Corey. One last look at here at the commute. I got a call from the one and only Christopher Adams from the University of Manitoba, a CBC regular. He was calling to let me know about a fire truck in the median lane on southbound University Crescent, so kind of right in front of Princess Auto Stadium there. There was a fire truck tending to a situation there in the median lane at southbound University Crescent, kind of right in front of Princess Auto Stadium there. As well, quick note about a couple of things that have cleared. The illegally parked car northbound Osborne just before the Confusion Corner overpass underpass, I should say, has moved. As well, eastbound Marion approaching Dawson, the collision has been cleared from the median lane there. As well, northbound St. Mary's approaching Abinogi-Meekina, there was a stall blocking the northbound median lane. That stall has been cleared as well. So things should be moving smoothly here as the rest of the morning goes on.
Thank you very much, Sierra.
Thank you.
You know, Manitoba Merv, I don't believe you. It's minus 21 now, but by Thursday, the high is supposed to be above 0, 2 degrees. It'll be warming up to minus 17 today. So cold before things start to gradually get warmer. I'm Corey Funk sitting in just for today for Marcy Marcusa. She'll be back in the seat tomorrow. Thanks to everyone who helped put together today's show. Sophia Peralta-Baron, Justin Fiacconi, and Heather Wells, Chris Armstrong, Megan Ketcherson, and Austin Shebekiget. I'm Corey Funk. The Current is next.